Good morning, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? I'm fine. Had a snowstorm here yesterday, which I think I talked to you guys about. So it was like a winter advisory. I don't know what we got, 6-7 inches. So I didn't go work out last night because I didn't, I wanted to stay off the roads. I'll go today. And then I'm thinking about the snow and I'm going, well, the game's in Philly and the game's in KC. So the game in Philly, let's say they get snow. I bet the under anyway, so I don't care. That can't hurt me. And then Cincy KC, Cincinnati just played in the snow. It's a bigger advantage for them. And what's funny is KC gets some weather. You think they're more in the west, it'd be warmer. But it's really not conducive to them because they throw the ball so much to really have bad weather games. That's what's surprising about it. I forget my spoon. Just a second. So anyway, so that's got me thinking about, about is there going to snow? Is it going to be a problem? And really, I don't see it. Again, snow is not really an issue. As you saw Cincinnati Buffalo last week, it snowed. Cincinnati, it was 27-10, but I don't think the snow created it to be low scoring. I think Josh Allen and the blitz created it to be low scoring. He didn't show up in the game. So before I start, I wanted to show you one thing. Then we'll get into football. This is from the Tehran Times, which is Iran. And this is a little more support of what I've been talking about. More nations plan to ditch the U.S. dollar. The fat, ugly girl at the bars, the U.S. dollar, and there's more countries leaving it. No demand, and that's where it goes. Washington has been using its currency as a weapon to advance its own hegemony, whatever, I don't know what the hell that means, I guess power. As a result, many civilian populations have suffered from unilateral American sanctions imposed. Yeah, I mean, like my girlfriend in Russia, she has problems, inflation, and like my girlfriend in the Ukraine. Well, that's not sanctions, but more Russia, and then that. In the joint letter of Brazil and Argentina, they wanted to advance discussions on common South American currency. So you got China and Russia doing Europe and Asia. Why am I frozen? Okay, back. They're doing their currency. Right, so a little internet, but it's okay. It should be fine. So you're having that too. So a lot of these countries are sick and tired of the U.S. sort of bossing them around, putting sanctions on them, raising interest rates, and they're all getting pissed off. I'm not quite sure why there ever was everybody just going on with the U.S. Like, okay, I think it was a lot after the war. And I think it was a lot after the war, and the U.S. was supposed to. Was supposed to be gold standard, and so that's why everybody liked it, because it was gold standard. And so they felt that the dollar would protect them, and it was just $1. And that's not what happened. So anyway, I got to get to football. So now the U.S., with Biden and backed by the Chinese and all the other crap that's going on here, is taking advantage, and he's punishing people, saying, we're raising interest rates on you. It's more expensive for the dollar. And so they're putting sanctions or threatening, if you don't do this, we're going to sanction you, which is very communistic, very Hitler, Stalinistic. If you're the leader, why do you want to do that, right? You probably don't. You're supposed to play nice if you're the leader, which they're not doing. So it's pissing everybody off, and they're going, fuck you. And they're all going to their own currencies, backed by gold, most of them, because they know that's the only real freedom. Okay, so let's go to football, and we'll get back to gold in a minute. Philly 2.5, 46.5, up from 45.5. And look who's favored now. KC's a 1-point favorite, 47.5. So we got Cincy back as a dog. We love it. So what do you think, Mahomes? His injury just fixed itself? Miraculously, with the high ankle sprain, he's ready to go in a week? Really? His bone can mend better than anybody else's. You know what that sounds like? You ever watch My Cousin Vinny? It's a line right out of My Cousin Vinny. My Cousin Vinny's about these kids traveling from New York to UCLA to go to school, and they get pulled over because they look like people that committed a murder. So 2 teenage boys and 2 other teenage boys killed the clerk, and they thought they killed the clerk. So Vinny is, what's his name? Joe Pesci, and he's really funny in it. And he's interrogating, he's like a con scammer turned lawyer, so he knows all the little scam things. So he's talking to the witnesses that are just full of shit because they're just from Alabama, of course, and this is what they see. They're just making it all up because they just want to convict somebody because one of their guys got killed. So one of the guys was making breakfast, and he said, "Oh, I saw what happened." And so he walks them through the day. He says, "Yeah, I went to make breakfast, and then I came back, and they come out." And he says, "What'd you make?" He said, "Oh, we made what do they make there? The stuffing grits." Now, he had talked to somebody at a restaurant, and the guy says, it takes like 10 minutes to make grits. You soak them in water and potato, whatever they are, and it's got to like dry, soak in. And he says, it takes 10 minutes. So the guy on the stand says it took him only 5 minutes. So he goes, "Oh, so do you have magic grits that only take 5 minutes and everybody else in the grit eating world, it takes 10? And so Mahomes, everybody else takes a month to heal with the high, but Mahomes, he's got the magic grits, the magic bone that heals in a week where everybody else's heals in a month. Okay, first of all, okay, my line, yes, KC -3, healthy Mahomes at home. And I believe Cincinnati wins anyway, but that's what the line. If I was the Vegas, now my line is if I'm the Vegas VP of operations making the lines on the games, my line would be KC -3 because the game's in KC, and I want even betting. I'm not saying I think KC's going to win by 3. We had some confusion about that last week. What I'm saying is KC -3 should be the line to bet. It's 1. Okay. I love Kansas. I love Cincinnati in this game because they beat them 3 in a row, and they're going to beat them again. Because there is no magic beans for Mahomes that his broken, because a high ankle sprain, you're breaking this bone is the problem, and it takes a month to heal. Because even if you were to fast all week, I still think it would take a week to heal. If you did my 96-hour fast, I don't think the bone's going to heal any quicker. I could be wrong, but I and I doubt Mahomes is fasting. They're probably not smart enough. So now the line went from Cincy -2 because they thought he wasn't playing to now he's playing on basically a broken foot, but it's a high ankle sprain, we'll call it. And how healthy can he be? He's going to try. So you're telling me people run, and they ran to Cincinnati -2 because Mahomes is supposedly out, and now supposedly he's playing, and now all the money's coming on Cincinnati. Okay, these are magic beans that I'm hearing because it doesn't make any sense. I could understand you think Mahomes, first of all, there's no way not Mahomes is not playing. I think he can only play the first half because he's going to shoot up, as Bobby's suggested. Being a professional baseball player, he would know about this stuff. He would shoot up before the game. It's going to wear off at halftime. I don't think you can do two of those shots. I don't think you can shoot up at halftime. So after halftime and you sit down for a half hour and then you go back on the field, even if he stands, it's going to tighten up on him. And he's only going to be good for the first half. And how good is that going to be? I'm sure he'll be limping around a little bit. It's like in the Super Bowl against Tampa, he was in. Well, this isn't going to be any difference. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill, and the way Cincinnati just crushed Buffalo. Why is the money going on Kansas City now? Why did it go on Cincinnati in the beginning? Well, we think Mahomes is out. Oh, you really don't think he's going to play? So who are we dealing with? What morons are in? Mahomes is playing he played last week. He's playing. We don't know how long, and I'm guessing the first half, and he'll probably play the second half, but he won't be good. He'll be limping around the whole game. First quarter, he'll be, but how accurate is he going to be? And in his mind, he's going to, my foot's bothering me. You can't get away from that. When my foot was bothering me, that was the biggest thing on my mind is my foot's bothering me. Your foot's bothering you. It's in your thoughts. If you're trying to focus on something else, at the end of the day, your foot's bothering you. So with all that, okay, I can see taking Cincinnati. All right, now it's 2. Why would it go back down to 1? Do you actually think Mahomes is 100% now? He's playing, but you knew he was playing anyway. So what are we dealing with here is the stupidest bunch of morons I've ever seen that you would think that, I'm going to bet Cincy because Mahomes isn't playing. Well, why would you think that? He's playing. He's just not going to be healthy. Then it turns around. So now Mahomes is playing. He's not 100%. It's the same injury that you bet Cincinnati down to -2, and now it's back to KC -1. Free play, take Cincinnati plus the 7 again. That's just a joke. That's your free play. You can either take the Niners or go under in the game, whatever your choice, whatever you choose better. Hard to play the favorite in the Philly-Frisco game. But in the Cincy-KC game, since he's just the better team, Joe Burrow is just 100% healthy versus Mahomes, who's maybe 50%. I've never had a high ankle sprain, but what I had with my foot. And if I had to play, I couldn't play. I could play now. It's just about 100% healed. But if I had to just run in the pool, I couldn't do, right? I'm in the pool in 5 feet of water. I weigh 5 pounds. I could only go about 10 minutes, and then my foot was starting to swell in the pool because it's still, even though that's why I don't think it was gout. I think I injured it. But it was still getting a little puffy. My toes and my front was still getting puffy in the pool. So therefore, I'm in a pool and I don't weigh anything and my foot's bothering me. So there's no way after an ankle sprain he's healthy. So what are these people thinking? So therefore, I love Cincinnati. I love them at -1. So I love them at +1. I've already bet them +7.5 on Monday when I knew Mahomes was going to be. You got to understand the injury. He's not 100% with a high ankle sprain. It takes a month to heal. So what you're looking at is I don't know if he'll be ready in the Super Bowl. So let's say Cincinnati wins, which is a very long shot. He wins. They get the week off. Then they get the Super Bowl. And I doubt he'll be 100% for that. This is it'll be 1 week, 2 weeks. It'll be 3 weeks. He'll be better, but he won't be 100. It'll still be bothering him. So how is it going to be after a week? It's going to be fine. And the way Cincinnati plays, good luck stopping Burrow and Chase and those guys. And the defense, they don't blitz Mahomes. He likes to be blitzed. where the Josh Allens and the Trevor Lawrences and the Fields, the Tagliavuas and the Josh Allens and all these guys don't know what to do with the blitz. He knows what to do. He wants the blitz, like Brady and Rodgers. They want the blitz because if he sees, oh, it's the cornerback coming, so he knows when it's coming, and then he goes to Kelsey, you go over there. So he gives him an audible call, 76, and then Kelsey goes there, and the blitz comes, and he just dinks it, gets rid of the ball in 2 seconds because he knows he's going to be wide open, so he likes the blitz. Cincinnati does not blitz them. Very, very little. They get there with the 4-man line. They get some good pass rushers, but they just contain them. And the way their defense is playing, he ain't going to hit anybody anyway. So if I just double team Kelsey, what are you going to Juju Smith-Schuster's your guy and Valdez-Scantling? I mean, these are your guys. I mean, Tyreek Hill, you couldn't stay with. These two guys are just average receivers. So it's all Kelsey. I don't know. Chocolate Eclair, I keep saying he's playing. He's not playing. He's questionable. He's probable. He's doubtful. He's out. I don't know. I don't think he's playing. I think if they get to the Super Bowl, he might play, but I don't think he's playing here. He might try, but obviously he broke his ankle, and unlike Mahomes, he actually can't walk on it. So that's my analysis. I never understood the total not moving. If Mahomes ain't playing, they're not getting to 47. Now, was this line supposed to be 52? They said Mahomes' injury, let's make it 47, and it's not moving like Phil advises, where Phil says they've already taken the injuries into consideration in the Buffalo game last week as the line went from 4 to 6. And we're all like, why is people betting on Buffalo? And I think this is where I'm not really contrarian. I'm my own person. And I don't know that. Why is that contrarian? So if 10 people like Kansas City here and I like Cincinnati because I'm a Joe Burrow guy, why am I contrarian? I'm just smarter than them. Like last week, I had Cincinnati over Buffalo. You heard it here. It was my lock. I have Buffalo -3. The spread goes to 4 to 5.5 because of the offensive linemen. I get asked, are the linemen a problem? I said, nope, they weren't. They adjusted. Burrow did a little bit more moving up in the pocket and finding Chase. So it really was not an issue. And you just sit there and you just scratch your, so I like Cincy. They got the better team. They got the better defense. They got the better quarterback. People do not know how to value. They're not valuing. They're not valuing Burrow properly, and they're overvaluing Allen and Tagliavua and Trevor Lawrence. All these guys are overvaluing. They don't know how to value them, but I know how to value Burrow. And like I said, a lot of it's from college, putting up 40 points on Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Clemson, all these really great defensive teams, not against New Mexico State and Arkansas State, which is what Alabama does, which skews the numbers because they're not even playing good college players, right? More or less pros that Burrow plays. So that's where they miss. So this is why we win, because we stick to our guns. I do not get influenced by BetMGM or ESPN or any of these morons. Everybody that I heard last week liked Dallas over Frisco. Everybody. Anybody want to talk to? BetMGM. Then, I like Dallas in 3.5. Da-da-da-da-da. Why? Why do you like Dallas? A, they got Prescott. B, the defense of the Niners is 100% better than Tampa's, and they can run the ball, and they got McCaffrey and Purdy. Why does everybody think Purdy's bad? I don't know what you're watching, but the way I watch Purdy play, there's nothing wrong with that guy. He's a star. Just because he's the last pick or he's a rookie, well, guess what? So was Tom Brady. He was a rookie, and so was Joe Montana. Okay, they were rookies, and they looked good as rookies. They get better. Like Purdy will be much better next year. It shouldn't be a decision. Trey Lance should be gone, and Garoppolo keep him as the backup. But if you don't start Purdy, If you pull a New England and do what you did with Zappe, you're out of your freaking minds. This is why New England doesn't make the playoffs. All of a sudden, they don't start Zappe anymore. What is that? Oh, he's got experience? Well, Zappe came out and beat the shit out of a couple of teams. What are you talking about? So if I'm a team needing a quarterback, I'm going to go sign Zappe. Well, I'm going to go sign Trask from Tampa Bay anyway. Hey, Bobby, how are you, sir? Oh, I forgot to get your gold Philharmonic. Please forgive me. I was just thinking about it. And then I was watching some YouTube stuff just to see if there's any news on anything today, which there's not. Anyway, so not necessarily contrarian, but I have my belief system. So once I make up my mind last week that I like San Francisco over Dallas, and this is why I tell you don't listen to other people, I would take Purdy over Prescott all day. My connection's unstable. I apologize. I like the 49ers to beat Philly outright this weekend. What do you think? Yeah, I like the dog in the game, but I like the under more. I think it'll be low scoring because you have two killer defenses. But I would take the dog in the game because you can't really separate the teams. They're two very good defenses. I think Shanahan's a better coach until the game gets on the line, and then he chokes like he did. Don't forget who the offensive coordinator on Atlanta was when they tanked the lead to New England, and New England came back from 82 points down to win the Super Bowl. So he knows how to design plays and get you. So he'll design good plays against Philly. Philly's rough. They got 70 sacks. Now it's like 75 sacks. And they got great secondary. So, but that leaves it open to McCaffrey running and Deebo Samuel running and Kittle. So those will be different. And they're actually playing against the quarterback this week, not Daniel Jones. This is the problem with these teams with these fake quarterbacks, but they can run like they think. I don't know why these guys think that running quarterbacks are the answer. They're not the answer. No, none of them have ever done anything in the history of the NFL. Michael Vick, Dante Culpepper, Steve McNair. I mean, he lost the Super Bowl. He got to the Super Bowl, but there wasn't much competition. So I don't know where they think that's going to work, where I can name you Unitas, Montana, even Greasy and, Stabler and Bradshaw, as bad as he was. None of them are real. Bradshaw started to run early in his career. And then when he got Swan Stallworth, he didn't run. He threw to Swan and Stallworth. And guess what? They won 4 Super Bowls. Before them, he couldn't beat Oakland. I mean, he needed the immaculate reception. But until he got those guys, he was a terrible quarterback, Bradshaw. He threw so many interceptions. He was not a good quarterback. He did run in the beginning, but he stopped running and they won. So you really don't want a running quarterback. You got Franco Harris to run or Walter Payton to run, or Roger Craig until he fumbled against the Giants. But you had Emmett, you had Barry. You give the ball to the running back, not the quarterback, and you throw the ball to Jerry Rice. It's not that complicated. Throw it to Jerry Rice and let Emmitt Smith run. Not my quarterback. I don't want my quarterback running, and I don't want, because I want to use Jerry Rice, which I can't do if I got a running quarterback who can't hit the broadside of a barn. So I don't know why Daniel Jones, he's a Peyton Manning pick, where Peyton Manning said, I like Daniel Jones. He went to my camp. And so the Giants drafted him because he went to Peyton Manning's camp, probably 12 years old? Like, oh, that's the answer. If he goes to the camp, he must be a good quarterback. And the problem is he sucks, and then he wants to run. Well, did Peyton Manning teach him running at his camp? So if you're listening to Peyton Manning, you're in big trouble because he doesn't know anything. He's a good quarterback, but he choked all the time. So I'd listen to Brady, but really I don't want to listen to either of them. I want to listen to a guy who knows how to evaluate, like Mike Holmgren knows how to evaluate. Anyway, so I'm very confused why KC's now a 1-point favorite when nothing really has changed the whole week. Mahomes is injured. We knew he was injured. Bobby clued us in. He'd take the needle. I think after the first half, it comes back. I don't think you can take those in a game, Bobby. Is that right? So if you take a needle before the game, then you come off for halftime and it wears off, can you take a needle at halftime, or are you limited because it's too much in your system and you can't take two needles? But normally the second half, they don't look the same because of the halftime. So that's my guess, but you'll know more than me. Unless he has magic beans like my cousin Vinny, where it'll his whatchamacallit, his fuck. Anyway, his breakfast only takes 5 minutes. Everybody else, the grits, his grits only take 5 minutes to heal. Everybody else takes 10. So I don't understand this line moving back. KC -1. I love Cincinnati and 7 in the game, and we're getting a touchdown. Out is you bet defense, and you want to fuck with a good defense. So case in point, let's take USC playing Oregon State or Washington State, teams with great defense. Washington State had a great defense this year. Here comes USC averaging 40 points a game. What happened? I think they scored 24 in the game, or 30 at most. It was a very close, low-scoring game. I think there was an Oregon against Washington State, and it was like 16-6 or something. And then the Iowa State, you played Iowa State, and it was Kansas played Iowa State, beat them 14-11. Kansas scores 40 a game, and it's all they could get. They got 14 in the second quarter, and that was it. Iowa State just killed you. So when you play these really good defenses, what I'm noticing is you get fucked, and you're not getting a lot of points. What do we got? We got two strong defenses. Where are you going to get the points? Frisco's not going to go. They couldn't go up and down the field on Dallas last week. 19 is what they got, 4 field goals, and they're going to have the same trouble with Philly. They're not going to march up and down the field scoring touchdowns. McCaffrey will get his 1, and Purdy will probably hit Kittle for 1, and that'll be maybe they get – what do I got? I got 20-17 Frisco. How is Philly going to score? You think Frisco's going to sit there and let Hurts pick them apart? No way. They'll put pressure on Hurts. As far as Devontae Smith and Brown, they got excellent cornerbacks. Now you're playing premier defenses. You don't score a lot. This isn't the Giants. That's the problem. You look at the Giants, you go, oh, Philly killed them, they'll kill Frisco. Oh, Dallas killed Tampa, they'll kill Frisco. I mean, it's like, no, this is the best team in the league, Frisco. You're not beating them because they have the best defense. But by the way, the job numbers come out tomorrow morning, so maybe the market may move. Are you talking the stock market? Do you think it really matters what the job market says about the stock market going up or down? We'll talk economics in a little bit, Bobby, but it has nothing to do. It's being manipulated by the Fed. It's got nothing to do. It's not like me and you are buying shares of stocks anyway. Why are you still in stocks? Get your money in the gold and the silver before you don't have any money. So, that's my point on the football. My fault, not the job numbers. I meant GDP. GDP. When you have, what is GDP? Because the numbers are phony anyway. Even when they come out, consumer price index, producer price index, they're all bullshit. They're not full numbers. Then you got to take into account the value of the dollar dropping. So you got to get into all that. But let me get back into the football. Let me finish that. So what do we got in Cincy, KC? Now, Cincy on this 11-game winning streak has given up 18 points a game. So we can go back 11. That's 18. And they're scoring 28. And then we got Kansas City, who gives up 22. Gives up 22. And, so again, the better defense is Cincinnati. They got a really good defense. And then you've got Mahomes injured. You can't ignore that Mahomes is injured. You can't ignore a high ankle sprain is not going to bother him. So Why are they pretending? Their defense isn't that strong. I mean, shit, they gave up 20 points to Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, what are you going to do against Burrow? So I'm going to go with 31-13 Cincinnati. After what they did to Buffalo, putting up 27, they should get a little bit more on Kansas City. They got a weaker defense, but it's similar. Again, nobody was talking Von Miller's injury but me because everybody forgot about it. Oh, let's bet Buffalo up to – we'll bet it from 4 up to 5.5, 6. Von Miller's out. Well, yeah, but he got injured 3 weeks ago, so we don't talk about him even though he's out, and he's the critical component of Buffalo's defense, but we won't remember he's injured. Okay, so they all went to the 2 offensive linemen being injured, but Cincinnati could replace them, which they did. Cincinnati, no injuries. The same 2 guys are injured, which doesn't matter. The center was questionable, is now probable, so they didn't lose another lineman. They've already replaced him, and Burrow's just stepping up in the pocket, knowing, hey, I don't have the time. I can't go back. They're going to go around, so I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to step up. And that's how they improvised against the 2 linemen being hurt. They get in the way because they're linemen that probably played at Ohio State and Michigan and Iowa or wherever. And now he just goes back. The rush comes. They get in the way enough, and then he goes forward. That's how you handle the injury. So they are prepared how to handle injured linemen, and Cincinnati didn't miss a beat. I don't know the weather in Kansas City if it's going to be, I don't know because we got the snow already. So it goes from the west to the east. So it's not going back to Kansas City unless there's another snowstorm coming, which we don't know. Anyway, so again, looking at defenses, right? You didn't want to fuck with Washington State and Oregon State and Iowa State and Iowa, right? We would bet those under if the team was under, or Georgia. All of last year and most of this year, Georgia under because they got this great defense. And then all of a sudden they started letting up some points. They buried Tennessee 26-6 or 26-12. But then against LSU, it was a higher scoring game. And then Ohio State was really high scoring, and so was TCU. But look how quickly we got off of them. LSU put up a big number, which we didn't bet the over or the under. And then Ohio State comes, we get off the under to take Georgia. And then in the last game, we go over with TCU because we know TCU is going to score on them. And the spread was a little high, so it was much safer to go over. But that's how you adjust. You got to adjust quickly to what you're seeing. So I just don't see how Kansas City wins with a banged-up Mahomes and Joe Burrow, and they beat him 3 times. Now, the games were close, like 27-24 were the last 2 games Cincinnati wins. But I don't think KC really has the defense. And they certainly don't have Mahomes, so I don't see him getting 24 without Mahomes or with Mahomes banged up. And they've seen him enough. Excuse me. They've seen him enough they know their patterns. They know it's Kelsey. They know Mahomes. Been there, done that 3 times. It's getting comfortable. It's going on a date, the first date, and then by the third date, you're comfortable with the girl, or if you're at a poker table or anything you're doing, you're getting comfortable. LSU, yeah. The NFL playoffs or the college playoffs? I think they'll make the NFL playoffs with Bote staying there, as long as they can find a real quarterback. I liked LSU with Burrow. I made so much money that year, or I should say we did. I had them every week. Once I could see they started to score, I think they played Texas the first week, and it was like I actually had Texas as the dog, and the game was like 55-45, and I had like 12 points with Texas. And I'm wondering, why is that? Why is LSU such a favorite? And then I look at the box score and I see Burrow and I go, well, he wasn't anything the year before. And then they just kept scoring. And then I got on, and you jump on Burrow and you jump on who you dance with whom brung you. You like the over in KC since I think it's a bit low being KC defense sucks. Well, okay, let's think about it, Bobby. And we know Mahomes going to get his. Well, let's think about it logically. Is it going to be high scoring? And if KC's defense sucks and KC's a 1-point favorite, why aren't we just taking Cincinnati in 7? I mean, you've just solved your own riddle. So will it be high scoring? I don't know. Will KC score with Mahomes injured against this defense? Let's not forget, Buffalo put up a whopping 10 on this. Josh Allen, everybody's favorite quarterback, puts up 10 points. So doesn't have Tyreek Hill. He's got Kelsey, which sure Cincinnati's going to actually cover. He does a lot of box outs, so he must have been a basketball power forward because he'll pin you down, right? He'll see the opening even though you're right there, and then he turns on you and boxes you out. That's why he's always open. It's not really a receiver running a route. He's just running to a space and boxing out, and Mahomes gets him the ball. I mean, that's really what Kelsey is, more of a power forward. It'd be like LeBron playing football. So, I mean, you're going to get some points from KC, but I think Cincy in 7.5 or 7, they're not Burrow, and they're not going to stop Chase. And Mixon's been running well, and KC, you just said their defense is bad. So what looked like an over, are you going to get Mahomes for 4 quarters? And what Mahomes are you getting, right? You're getting Mahomes with a broken ankle, basically, or a broken bone, but it's not this bone, it's the top bone, right? So I broke this part. So that's the difference. You can't walk on that, but if you break here, well, it's okay, it's painful, and you see, and they tape it up and they shoot him up, but it's still, he can't be as mobile as he wants. I don't know if they blitz him more because he gets rid of the ball quickly, but maybe a delayed blitz or something where he doesn't know the blitz. That probably would work on Mahomes because he can audible out and see the cornerback coming, unlike the Tennessee quarterback. And but if you do a delayed blitz where the safety does not look like he's blitzing 1,001, 1,002, and then he comes, Mahomes won't be ready for that. He's not going to be able to move. So that's my point with that. But I think we know Cincy in 7, now that it's KC -1 again, is gold. I mean, that you're not beating Cincy by more than 7 with Mahomes injured and you got Burrow, right? So you're betting that you've got Joe Montana. Are you going to get killed? Unless Jim Burt comes and knocks him out like the Giants did in 87, you're not blowing out Joe Montana. You're not blowing out Burrow. So Burrow in 7 is such a good bet, especially with this defense. I'd be more worried in the Super Bowl when they play either Philly with 75 sacks or they play San Francisco with the top defense. That's when I would be worried about Burrow, not against this defense. I think Burrow wins you the game. Therefore, I like the 7 more than I like the over because I don't know what I'm getting with Mahomes, and since his defense is giving up 18 a game, and basically Josh Allen got 10 points, which where did that come from? How did they hold him under 30? So he gets 10. So Mahomes ain't going to light him up because this is a very strong defense. So I don't like to fuck with strong defenses, as I was saying. Your Washington States and Oregon States, I never took the Utahs and the UCLA overs in those games. I would stay – it was mostly Oregon and Washington played them, and it would be low scoring. And then I would same thing with Iowa State. You'd get Baylor. I didn't bet it over. I think I bet it under. I think I bet most of the Iowa State games under. When you play that really strong defense, you don't fuck with the overs in the game. You stick with the unders, especially in Iowa State, who doesn't have much of an offense. He more or less likes to run the ball and play defense. He doesn't want to turn the ball over. There's a beautiful under Iowa State is. So even though Brock Purdy went there and didn't light it up, but he stayed within the framework. He played 4 years, That's why he's like going, oh, shit, this is Oklahoma and Texas. This is nothing. Let's see. Ryan, hey, Ryan. If Mahomes can't get out of the pocket, they are in serious trouble. Well, he's going to be limping around because you do not heal from a broken foot, a broken bone in your foot, which is what a high ankle sprain is. It takes 4 weeks. And again, unless he's got the magic beans to do his what do you call it? The grits. So if he has the magic grit beans where he can be healed in a week, where every other quarterback takes a month, yeah, they're in trouble. Well, we know they're in trouble. He's not going to be ready. I was thrilled to see +2 Bengals this morning. I see +1 Bengals, but I'm thrilled to see that they're not favored anymore. I'd bet them on Monday +1.5. So I have +7.5. I can go into the line. Again, when I go on Scores and Odds, it does a FanDuel line instead of like looking at maybe the consensus. But right here it says it's got KC -1, but let me dig into it and let me see if there's twos. No, it's all ones. So I'm seeing ones across the board with this. So everything's a 1. So I don't see the 2. You might have caught an early 2, but they're now down to 1s. Just an FYI there. But it looks like, so if I go into covers, so I mean, the Niners, Samuel, McCaffrey, and Mitchell are all probables. They'll all be going. Let's go to KC. So that was a big thing. They all got a little injured. Philly, A. Brown, he's probable, which I thought the wide receiver. Now, Philly, 2 tackles are injured. One's on IR knee, this Toth. He's out. This just happened January 25th. The other guy, Johnson, is questionable with a groin on Sunday. How come their line's not moving to Frisco -2 like Cincinnati did last week, right? So Cincinnati's 2 linemen's out. The line goes from 4 to 6. Philadelphia's 2 tackles. One of them's on IR. He ain't playing. The other one's probably going to play with a groin, which is not going to be. I think he had the groin. He's had the groin injury, and they just said it's painful. I remember that interview, but so they're missing that. So they have tackle problems. And then we go to Kansas City, and let's see. Mahomes is probable with an ankle. So he's probable, but he's not, he's not healthy. He's just going to play. And then Chocolate Eclair, questionable with an ankle. So he's gone from out to doubtful, to questionable, to probable, back to questionable. I just don't, he must have broken the ankle, I would assume. So that's your covers injury, but nothing new. Just that the tackle for Philly is on IR, so he's gone. So that's not a good thing for them. About 8:30 a.m. I already bet it. Well, if you got 8, you're gold. See, Bobby, that's the difference, right? If I can get 8 or 7.5 with Burrow, I don't fuck around with the over/under. Yes, Casey's got a bad defense, but that means Burrow's going to light him up, right? So Burrow's is going to light him up, and then they run a lot and kill the clock, and they don't turn it over. So that's what they do. That's what Cincinnati does. Look what they did against Buffalo. I would say Buffalo's defense without Von Miller is the same as Kansas City's, even though they have that one good defensive tackle, Smith or somebody. And so the 27 they put up on Buffalo is going to be similar to what they're going to do to KC. And if you held Josh Allen to 10, I don't see Mahomes injured doing a whole lot more. Since his defense is outstanding, it's probably right up there with Frisco's and Phillies. So that's why I don't want to fuck with the over. I don't have if I had Jackson, that's why I went over on Jacksonville KC, which would have went over by a mile if Mahomes doesn't get hurt in the first quarter, because KC's defense sucks, and so does Jacksonville. So really you got to dissect the game. If I have two overs, so all right, let's go back to San Diego, Jacksonville. San Diego gives up 25 a game, Jacksonville 21. They're both over defenses. We got a 61-point game. That's when you go over when both defenses suck, and then you had Herbert and God knows Trevor Lawrence, but we won't even call him a good quarterback. He's average at best, but okay. And look, they still scored 31-30. That's when you go over. But when you're fucking around with Cincinnati, look at Cincinnati, Baltimore, two good defenses. And you got a 24-17 game. You got a 41. So you got to give Cincy at least 24 because they did that against Baltimore, who's got a 19 defense, and Kansas City's got a 22. So they're 3 points worse, and they're playing fucking Denver and Oakland, and their defense should be better because they're playing weak teams. So that's how you look at it. So what do they do against Baltimore? 24. It's at least – that's why I'm getting 31 against KC because they'll probably get a pick six or some turnovers. Mahomes is going to struggle with his foot. He might fumble. They might strip a strip touchdown, things like that. But it all goes down to defense, and KC's defense is not going to hold Burrow. So I'd rather bet Burrow plus 7 or 8. Can anybody tell me why this line just switched? What would possibly go through anybody who's betting money? And it's not in the mafia where they're laundering money, but actually people who are working for a living, betting money and taking Kansas City going from -2 to -1, past even to now -1 or -2. Who the fuck who's stupid enough to do this? I guess the BetMGM guys. I'm answering my own question, but you got to be kidding me. Trevor Lawrence, that kid doesn't have a prayer in hell. I was watching a YouTube on Tagliabue, and they're like thinking he's done. They said, with all the concussions, but he doesn't do a good job when he's healthy. And so he's always getting injured, and he's not that good anyway when he is healthy. And then who's going to want him? So they think he might be done. He'll probably go to Oakland or somewhere, and then they'll suck for a couple of years. But the real sleeper is Trask, the Florida quarterback who backed up Brady for Tampa. If I need a quarterback, if I'm Houston, I'm going to trade for that guy if they'll trade him. I don't know. And then we got to see what happens with Brady. One of these morons on one of these radios says, "Oh, Brady's all done." What are you talking about? You can go to Oakland. He should go to Philadelphia or one of these Baltimore. You think Baltimore would like Brady with that defense? Dallas. Yeah, so we talk. So Baltimore or Dallas could use Brady, and they'd win the Super Bowl. Because you put them with those defenses. It's just like Burrow, right? You put a superstar quarterback with a good defense, and you call it the 1970 Steelers, or you call it the 1980 49ers, because they had a hell of a defense once they got Jack Reynolds and they had Ronnie Lott and that whole secondary. Then they added the San Diego defensive linemen. They had the number one defense twice when they won. And then you see Lawrence Taylor winning with Phil Simms. So even if you don't have a great quarterback, if you have Lawrence Taylor, you win. And then the Cowboys with Emmett and Irvin they had the number one defense. And the only time the Niners beat them is when Deion Sanders went from Dallas to Frisco, and then they had the number one defense. You've got to have, if you have that strong defense and then a decent quarterback, but if you got a Burrow and that strong defense, or Purdy, Hurts, I don't know about. We'll find out what Hurts is because I don't know yet. Okay, beating the Giants all he did was hand off and they ran it down their throats, and the Giants are a pass defense. How do you not have a defense that stops the run is beyond me. And if you think, well, it's a passing league now, you're out of your mind. It's always a running league, defense. If you can't stop the run, you're fucked. And let them pass. They can't score in the red zone. Once you get the ball to the 10-yard line, you can't pass it in. You got to run it in. I think I can think of irrational reasons, not logical reasons for the movement. Well, the only reasons I can think to follow your logic is they love Kansas City. Like they're going to bet Alabama, they're going to bet Notre Dame, they're going to bet Michigan, they're going to bet Kansas City, they're betting Dallas. They're going to bet Raider fans. They're not rational. They're going to bet them regardless. So I think that's what it is. KC's at home. I'm betting them. Oh, Mahomes is playing, so he'll of course be 100%, and his magic ankle will heal because he's got magic beans, and that's what'll happen. So that's exactly what you're saying. But that should be in the line. So the initial line of KC -3 is my line of what it should have been. With the injury, it goes to -1. I don't know all the crap that made it go Cincinnati -2. Because you knew there's no way Mahomes wasn't playing in this game. Yes, he's going to be injured, but he's going to play, and then they'll go from there. But there's no other, obviously he's not 100%. Dr. Bonilla has told us that. Take the shot, off he goes. But that's what we know, right? We've watched enough sports, baseball, football. You can't just recover from an injury. You break your wrist getting hit by a ball when you're batting. You're not just the next day going to, I'll just go and hit again. I mean, you have to heal. Even if you fast, I don't know if that speeds it up, but you still have to heal. So that's what I got. I mean, I love Cincy. That's your free play. Take Cincy as the dog. I would avoid the over because I don't know what I'm getting from Mahomes. And Cincy's got it. They're only giving up 18 a game the last 11. And you got to understand, Burrow hits Chase a lot on these little dinks to keep the drives going. He's running a little to keep the drive going. They're running with Mixon. So you got to understand, you're almost playing Army and Navy here with Cincinnati. They get enough points, and then they just put you to sleep, and the defense is very, very good. Giving up 18 against Pitt, Baltimore, Cleveland. Well, I guess Baltimore, you got Jackson, so you're not scoring a lot. But, I mean, look at 24-17 to Baltimore. That might be what you're getting, but you've got to, if they can beat Baltimore, they're beating Kansas City, right? And then they killed Buffalo. I mean, that's the thing. Give up 10 points to Josh Allen at home. I don't care if it snowed. It's Buffalo. They play in the snow. They just played a game in the snow a few weeks back, the Miami game, and they put up 32. So this is where I'm at. You have to play the defense of the team. Fuck everything else. Frisco, Philly, you got a 16 and a 20, and I'm not sure the Eagles are a 20. They're probably like a 19. So you've got to play the defenses, and since you have two great ones, you go under in the game. Then you've got Cincy's defense against KC's. KC doesn't have a good one. It's not better than Baltimore, which Cincy put up 24 on, so therefore that. Then you add the third factor of this is not a neutral site game. It should be. Why is Cincinnati getting screwed? So they have that. And they went to the Super Bowl last year by beating them in Kansas City. So they're not intimidated by KC. They're not intimidated by Mahomes, especially being injured. You don't have Tyreek Hill, who they beat 2 times last year, right? They beat them in the regular season, and then they beat them in the championship game. Tyreek Hill was there. Now he's not here. They beat him without Tyreek Hill. But they're – it's really huge. You're not intimidated. Like, oh my God, it's. Well, Bobby, when you faced a good pitcher, you faced. I don't know if you faced Nolan Ryan. He was American League, but who'd you face? Who the hell is in the National League? Dwight Gooden at times, and then you got your Smoltz and Glavin and the other Maddox. You face those guys, you're shitting your pants, and until you can start hitting them. So there is a psychological barrier. But when you've beaten Mahomes 3 times, that's not there. You get that when you play Alabama. You pee in your pants. Oh, shit, we can't beat them until you beat them. And Georgia now knows how to beat them. And now everybody's shitting in their pants when they play Georgia. Oh, shit, here's Georgia coming. Tennessee beat Alabama this year. Now they got that little, okay, we won't shit our pants next year. But until you beat them, you don't think you can beat them. And That's the thing. So until you beat Mahomes, you don't think you can beat him in Kansas City since he's done it. So they don't have that to worry about. So psychologically there. Phil, you live in Philly. What if his name was Steve? You're going to ask him if he lives in Stevens? Where does Phil live? I don't know. Nick lives in New Jersey. Bobby lives in Tampa. We got somebody in Texas. Anyway, so that's football basically. You're looking at defense. You bet under an Iowa State game. You bet under in Washington State games. You bet under in Iowa. You don't fuck with the game. You don't fuck with anything. The defense will control the game. So you're not getting any points. Frisco, Philly, and KC is going to be limited, and Cincinnati they don't have the defense to really control Burrow. So that's how I'm analyzing the game, is the defense. And really, it's been we ate up college knowing that, and then pros were difficult at first because we were trying to formulate everything because of all the movements in the pros. But by now we've got it all down to an art right now. So there you go. Free play, Cincinnati plus 7 or 8 if you can get it. Just as long as you can get 7, and then go with you can take Frisco. I took the under. I think it's a better play than Frisco, but at the end of the day, I got Frisco 2017. It might be Philly 2017, but you're playing. This is not going to be a high scoring game. I mean, they're kicking field goals against Dallas. They're going to kick field goals against Philly. You might get McCaffrey with 1 touchdown, and maybe Kittle gets 1. I don't see much more than that in Philly. Boston Scott, I'm sorry, is not running for 3 touchdowns, or as much as I like Goodwill. I loved him at Memphis, Gainwell. He ain't doing shit. You're not doing a lot against this Niner defense, put it that way. They got 2 all-pro cornerbacks. You got Boza actually playing now, which you can't stop him. It's funny how he plays when the playoffs come. Otherwise, he's always injured. Bobby, I think Eagles get exposed here. They're not a Super Bowl team. Well, I mean, I would rather have Purdy than Hurts at this point because I don't know who Hurts is. I honestly don't think Devontae Smith. Again, this is the window dressing, but not the function. So he was great at Alabama against New Mexico states and against Mississippi states and crap teams, and he would just run by the guys and he'd be open and they'd toss it in. Look how good he is. Yeah, he's not playing anybody. But against now in the pros, does he look that good? Does he look the best receiver in the league? No. He's adequate. He can get open sometimes, but he's not going to, give him 2 catches for 10 yards. I mean, is he going to just throw it to him? He's going to get a touchdown. Not against the Niners. He's not better than their cornerbacks. I don't think he's the best receiver on the field. I'd rather have Kittle, and I'd rather have Deebo Samuel, Bobby's guy. I like Hurts, but they're a playoff team, not Super Bowl caliber team. Well, they have the defense, but here's where they're running quarterback. Hurts, how accurate is Hurts? Can he read blitzes? Does he know what to do when he's blitzed? These are questions I don't know. He's not 100%. He hurt his shoulder. It's still bothering him. I don't know if it's separated, but if it's probably the left shoulder and he throws right-handed, or he couldn't throw. So his injury is not healed. Is Purdy injured? Probably. He had an oblique or something, which I'm sure, but that's my point. Everybody's taking their shots, putting ice on, wrapping it up, whatever they got to do. They're all injured. That McCaffrey's got a calf. Samuel's got something. They all are injured. But again, I think you take the best defense here. I think Purdy's the best quarterback here. I would take Burrow over Purdy, but that's about it. And I don't, and I'm tired of, Brady sucks. Brady doesn't suck. You put Brady on San Francisco, and you're in the same spot, right? Brady's leading them to the Super Bowl, and then you think Brady's good? Yeah, Brady had McCaffrey and Samuel and Kittle, and that defense, yeah, Brady would be right there, but he didn't have the defense. You can't blame Brady when nobody can get open, and he's sitting there 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Oh shit, they're gonna sack me. I'll just get rid of the ball. You can't blame Brady because the guys can't get open. But with Frisco, they run really good routes, and that's where Shanahan excels in getting his guys open. Like a Kittle, he knows he's like Kelsey. He knows that area. That's where I'm going to sit down. Samuel McCaffrey's a little valve who can turn. Well, McCaffrey and Samuel are the same thing, right? They're little that can take a 5-yard pass and go 60 yards with it, as Samuel did in the other game against who did they play against Seattle. He took a little swing, 5-yard pass, and went 60 yards. Seattle's defense just stood there and watched him go, he's pretty fast, isn't he? And that's what you have that would make Brady look good if he had guys like that who could just swing it to and they go 70 yards. And he lost Gronk, who was Gronk would get like Kelsey. He'd find the dead spot. He was tall and big, and he'd box out and just throw it to him, and he'd rescue him. And he didn't have Gronk this year. And it's not like you can replace a Kelsey or a Gronk or a Kittle or those guys. So I think at the end of the day, how does Philly move? Because against these cornerbacks, they are not hitting. Their receivers are going to be shut out. The running backs are not running on this defense. See, you're playing this defense. You're not playing the Giants. And, Frisco just had the test against Dallas. That defense is very similar, right, you had Micah Parsons. Philly doesn't have a Micah Parsons, right? So Frisco was able to get 19 on Dallas, who really played strong defensively. Again, Prescott cost him with the 2 interceptions, right? And then he doesn't know how to throw the ball. Is Hurts better than Prescott? Well, Prescott ran a little. That's the question. Is Hurts better than Prescott, who sucks? So I don't know. We'll see if Hurts can get him to the Super Bowl and win it. If it's Hurts against Burrow, we're taking Burrow. At that point, the defenses are even. Now we take the quarterback. That's the second phase in our betting. Look at the defense. Phase 2, look at the quarterbacks. Phase 3, look at the coaches. I don't know who Philly's coach is. I never heard of the guy. I'm not giving him credit at all for any of it at this point. Maybe he's a great coach. Maybe he's Lombardi. Maybe he's Bill Walsh. Or maybe he's Matt Patricia. We don't know. They're playing well. They're sacking the quarterback a lot. So how does Frisco handle that? And I think Purdy gets rid of the ball real quick, or they run McCaffrey and Samuel a lot, because and Eli Mitchell. That's how you attack a blitz. You tire him out. You run at him. It's like the body blows to Muhammad Ali when he's fighting, the other guy, Foreman or Norton or one of them, and the body blows, right? And he tires him out and he hits him in the body, and then the guy gets tired. Or Rocky, one of the Rocky 3, right? You just tire him out. Well, that's what running the ball does. If I run at the defensive line, who has 75 sacks, they're obviously fast. Can they handle the run? If I pound at them the whole game, what are they going to do? They're not going to blitz. They're not going to sack my quarterback in the third quarter because they're dead. After halftime, you get tired. And that's what happened to Dallas last week. I thought they came out like a college team, very emotional right away, and they looked great the first quarter. And I said to myself, wait till the fourth quarter, they're going to be fucked because they're emotionally going to be flat, and you can't get that back. And they were flat in the fourth quarter. They weren't doing anything. Frisco just ran down, scored a touchdown, got a field goal. Because it was 9-6, and then here comes the fourth quarter. It's 12-6. It's 19-6 or 19-9, and then Dallas got that, but their defense was exhausted. They got too emotional, and that's why Chuck Noll always said, "Don't get emotional, because you're going to burn yourself out." So that's what he knew. You don't want to get sky high, and then you go down. You can't get back. So he said, I don't want anybody cheering. I want you on an even keel because you got to play 4 quarters. in that first Super Bowl against Dallas, it showed Dallas had the ball and they were able to get on Staubach and they won that Super Bowl, but they didn't get tired, right? And that was the one thing nobody understood about Chuck Noll. He didn't want you to get sky high and then flat in the fourth quarter. He wanted you up in the fourth quarter. He just had a weird way of saying it, I guess. But that's what. So when I saw Dallas do that, I knew they were in trouble. We'll see if Frisco comes out like a business trap, like, okay, we're going to kick your ass, and Philly comes out that way. You'll see it all the way to the fourth quarter. KC could get a little emotional, so they're going to get flat in the fourth quarter. You cannot play football. You cannot get sky high in the first, coming out of the tunnel. You're not going to have anything left because once halftime hits, you're fucked. Now you lost all your energy, and by the fourth quarter, you couldn't stop a high school team. All right, Bobby, same comment. So that's what I see. So after we've analyzed the defenses, then do we go over or under? And then do we, then we look at the quarterback. So Frisco, Philly, two great defenses. Quarterbacks are okay. I like it under because of the defense. They're two great defenses. And Purdy and Hurts will do their little bit. We'll see who wins the game. But even Montana, a perfect example is the 1990 Monday night game. The Niners with Jerry Rice in Montana and Roger Craig played Lawrence Taylor. And they scored 7-0. The Niners, he hits Rice for a touchdown. And then it goes, Giants get Lawrence Taylor does something. It's 10-10. The Niners kick a field goal with 2 minutes left. They win 13-10 with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. They didn't play every game to 50. That is Taylor. You don't fuck with the overs. You stay under with the game. Because the coach was smart. He played to his strength. He played to Lawrence Taylor. He said, fuck, I got Lawrence Taylor. Sims, if you throw an interception, I'm pulling you because we've got Lawrence Taylor. And that's what you got with Philly, and the Niners have to play to their defense, which is why it should be a low-scoring game. In Cincinnati, they're playing to Burrow, and KC's playing to Mahomes. That's a little different. But that's what they're doing. So that's what you have to understand. You got to get into the coach's mind. He goes, well, I got Mahomes. It's the only chance to win. And Andy Reid's a terrible defensive coach. Where Cincinnati's more, let's play the tough D. We'll run it more. We'll ball control them like they did against Buffalo. You'll see the exact same game here. Keep them down. So anyway, that's football. Bet the defense. So far, it's worked like a charm. So the under game, Baltimore Cincy wins. The under game, Dallas Tampa wins. The under game, Philly and the Giants win. The under game, Dallas Frisco wins. So anytime we had two unders in the game, it stayed under, and that's especially in the playoffs. You're not going for it on fourth down very often, and you're punting, you're kicking your field goals, and you're playing. A lot of them play not to lose. And if I see what the Niners did at the end of that game, this game, I'm going to throw up. There's 2 guys rushing and 10 guys like 15 yards back. What the fuck are you changing your defense for? You're only up a touchdown. What are you doing? Stay with your defense. All right. So I started reading More Nations Are Ditching the U.S. Dollar. So we're going to economics and gold right now. If you have any other football questions, just shout them out. I'll go back to football. This is a well-rounded course, so we try to hit everything. So what does this mean? So we got to analyze, right? So what am I teaching? I'm teaching you to analyze, to see something and react to it. Action, reaction. So it's all starting to come into place. So if more nations are leaving, and this is what? This is Brazil and Argentina, and they have ties with Russia, of course, wanting to get out and create this whole new currency, probably backed by gold, like Russia and China are doing it. So when people are saying there's going to be a one world currency, well, I got a currency with Brazil, China, and the Asias, and the BRICS countries, so Saudi Arabia and Iran and South Africa, have their currency backed by gold. I got the U.S., Canada, England with their U.S. currency run by England. And then I have now Argentina, Brazil, and South America having their currency. So wait a minute, it's not a one currency. It's not a one world order. It's different world orders. You cannot have a one world government or a one world currency. And the problem is too many countries are different. China makes things. The U.S. doesn't. So it's got to run their country differently. Again, you're running the country like you're running a corporation. You got to raise interest rates. You got to lower interest rates. You're trying to make sales. So you're free. You want free trade. So you can't have, because how would you change interest rates, right? So if you want to be more competitive and you're China, you want to lower your interest rates. So your yuan goes down in value. So it's cheaper to buy cars and computers and chips and all this bullshit that they sell. It's cheaper to buy. So that's good for you. But in the US, they might want higher interest rates because these idiots are inflating everything. So how are you going to work that out if China wants lower rates and US wants higher rates? You need your own central banks and your own. So you can never have one currency and one government. It can never work because we do things differently. That's actually Austrian economics at its finest because it says you need a division of labor. I handicap football games. Bobby plays baseball. Phil's a scientist. Nick, he's in accounting. We all do our own things, which is good because you need that. If you've been in a big company like a GM or a Mercedes, what do you got? An accounting department? Somebody pays the bills. Somebody receives the money. Somebody does IT. Somebody builds the transmissions and the engines. Somebody works in the plant. So you need 15 different types of people. That's division of labor. And that's what you got in all these countries. So we go to China because there's engineers there that can help make the cars or parts cheaper or the computer components. So that's why Taiwan, they make these chips that nobody else can make because they just know how to make, these very sophisticated, high energy, high level chips that can't be made here, can't be made in China. That's why China wants to invade Taiwan. They want the chips. And since we buy them, we're protecting Taiwan because we don't want China to get the chips. We want the chips. So this is what all this bullshit's about. There'll never be a war with U.S. and China. It's impossible. Well, come on, Howard. That's what they're talking about. The reason it's impossible is because the Navy owns the blockades there. There's a strait that they have to go through. So there's big oceans, and then it comes into this little like Suez Canal, where all of a sudden two big battleships can block it. China doesn't have any natural resources, much like Germany doesn't have any natural resources. So how will China run its country without oil if we block the oil tankers coming in and say, you can't pass, we're not going to let you because we're at war with you. We're not going to let the oil in, and they'd last a month, and that'd be the end of China. So China will never go to war with us because they don't have oil. They're getting some from Russia, but that's it. And we can't really, what we do with Russia, we can't block them because they got all the oil. That we go and say, we're gonna sanction you, and your money's not going to be good. But the problem is they're killing all the people there, not Putin, who's sitting on his, he's got his little palace, and if you go into his basement, it's full of gold. Bobby would like that. So it's just full of gold bars, and he's got 14,000 tons of them. So it must be a pretty big site, but he's got his own little palace. So you're really not, what are you going to do? So that's the difference. China's got a lot of gold, but they don't have the oil, and the Russian does. So now Russia and China, Russia's sending oil to China, and now Saudi Arabia. The U.S. says, we're going electric. We're not going to use oil anymore. And Saudi Arabia's going, but that's all we got. So go fuck yourself. They're now in bed with China because China needs oil. So we'll ship it to you. You protect us. And now the U.S. is like, oh, we're gonna live off of windmills and solar panels. And what happens if it's not windy? Well, I guess we just won't. We won't be able to have energy. I mean, it's like fucking ridiculous. So that's what you have. That's what you have with that stuff. So you've got to be very careful. So wars are very expensive. You need a way to pay for them. That's why nobody's on the gold system, the gold standard, because I mean, unless you want to pay for your war with gold, you're basically printing your money to pay for it, which causes inflation and bankruptcies. That's why England's no longer the leader with the, number one with currency. They're not the Georgia of countries anymore because they had to pay for World War II with their gold to buy goods and tanks and planes from the U.S. So we charged them and they paid us in gold because they didn't have the money because they would have printed the money to zero. Phil, did you notice a shipping in Norway won't carry EV cars anymore? I didn't notice that, but thanks for bringing that up. See, that's a good comment to the class. Somebody's saying, I like San Francisco. We don't really care about their opinion. We want them to bring some meat. Phil brings meat. He says, look what's happening. That's how you enter the classroom, or like what Bobby does. You don't sit there and say, well, I like this team. I don't care about your picks. I'm the one giving the picks. You can say you like my picks, you don't like my picks, and then you should have a reason. But I don't care what your pick is because I'm the handicapper. You're not. All right. Did you see anybody in Money Heist go to the professor and tell him they didn't like his plan? Like when all the water went into the vault, what to do? Now, he was smart enough to listen to Palermo, but the professor was the one who was the mastermind. I'm the mastermind. So unless your name's Tokyo, I don't want to hear your picks. Phil, and Wyoming has a bill to ban that. Yeah, I heard that because Wyoming has oil and they don't want the electric cars. Yes, I've heard the Wyoming. Didn't hear the Norway. The risk of fire is too great in main reasons cited. Well, not only that, but then you don't use oil. Wyoming has a big oil reserve, and they don't. Then all their companies are going to go out of business, so they don't want that. I'm surprised Texas hasn't done the same thing because they got a lot of oil also that they don't probably want to lose that business. That's what I don't understand. All this green shit. Oh, we're polluting the planet. We're all going to die because of cars. You're like, there's no proof of that. We're a fucking planet, as we know. We've had cars since 1920, and it so far hasn't been a problem. We've got 9 million people in the world. Nothing's wrong. So I don't know. Let's hope others follow. Well, I can't believe Texas and Oklahoma, who are really high in oil, are just taking this line down. That doesn't make any sense. They must be in bed with China also. But you've just lost Saudi Arabia, which means you just lost the petrodollar, which means you're now the fat lady. You're the fat, ugly lady. And as I just read you right off the top, all these countries are getting away from the dollar. Now, we knew Argentina and Brazil were already in BRICS. We didn't know. We thought they would go with the gold standard that Russia, China's doing. But they obviously don't trust Russia, China. So they're making their own. And I can't believe Argentina and Brazil even trust each other. I mean, they're all communists. So they're coming out with their own, probably backed by gold. And I love when I watch YouTube and then they're like, well, maybe this will happen or maybe that. And I'm getting so sick of these headlines. Oh, don't buy gold. Gold and silver is about to crash. Don't buy gold until this happens. And then you watch the little 8-10 minute video and they don't explain it. They don't say don't until this. And then I'm like, there's no reason not to buy it. And there's no reason, I won't sell until this happens. It's all like, what the fuck are these people talking about? So this is pita bread. I take the frying pan, I put olive oil in it, heat it up, then I put the pita here, I put the pita there. It's like toast. Pita's not too bad. A little bit of carbs, not gonna kill me, but it's the only thing I'll eat. I won't eat bread. So a health tip for Bobby and the rest of you guys. So that's what's happening is this is how people are getting away from the dollar. Now you got to read that and you got to understand the ramifications. That action causes a reaction. The reaction is this is going down. That's the reaction. Again, if the demand for US dollars is here and the supply is here, what do you think is going to happen? All right, we printed all this money and it's heavily inflated and everybody's leaving the party. Well, now we're down to here, right? 33 countries are out, right? Russia and China, the big boys, Argentina, Brazil, they're all like, now we'll do our own dollar. Saudi Arabia, which was keeping you up here because it was you had to buy oil in US, is now they're out and you don't need to buy it. And then what'll happen, the idea is, and I showed you the new currencies in 2020 or 2024, is if the Swiss franc, so you live in Switzerland and you want to buy, you want to go to Germany and buy something, you'll just be able to buy euros with your Swiss francs. So you gotta buy US dollars to buy your euros, which is the stupidest thing. How they agreed to that? Well, I think they agreed to it based on the gold standard, which has been gone. So in 1971, when they went off the gold standard, as an economist, I would have said, "Fuck you, give me my gold and make my own gold standard," because this otherwise this is exactly what's going to happen. Which I think the Chinese and the Russians, they're very smart economically, knew once you're off the gold standard, what's going to happen. And they've been waiting. And I know like 2011, after 2008, China bought like 10, they're buying like 1,000 tons of gold a month for 30 months. So they got 30,000 at least. And Russia did the same thing. So that's why they got it all, because they knew what was going on. These Chinese, Russian economists, like Russian IT people are very smart, and economists are very smart. Do not fuck with them. They know two things: money and IT. And the biggest problem I see with the digital dollar is Russia hacking it. And all of a sudden, the system will be down and out, and you'll look at your account, you won't have any money. That's why I don't have anything in the bank now. Like you can't take my gold and silver and the money in my safe. You can't take it. That's why I don't leave money in the bank. All of a sudden there's a bank run or there's a electronic computer, something fucks up, you're fucked. And I showed you that email about that thing from PayPal. I haven't seen it. What did I do? I went in, but I showed you a list of like 100 people on the email, all like hidden. And obviously it was a scam. And I was scared to call it because I'm wondering if I call the number, does that give them information? Am I giving them information by calling that? Because obviously it's scammers, right? So I don't know how, hi, yeah, this is Howard. Okay, now we just got all your passwords because you talked to us. I don't know how that works, and I'm not about to find out. But I did that once where I called somebody, and then I realized probably shouldn't have made that call because I know it's a scam. So part of me wants to just see, okay, oh, you want a social security number? Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're not getting the real one or date of birth or anything else. So it's kind of like that, where I just kind of wanted to see what the scam was. But on these numbers, you got to be careful. So that's kind of what I was doing. Anyway, so yeah, I'm getting frustrated with these YouTubes that say, okay, the big crash is going to happen in 7 days, or, and then you hear about it and it's the stock market because if they raise interest, oh, we already know that shit. And these are scare YouTube videos. And when I see them, I immediately go in and dislike them. And then I tell them to fuck off, that why are you putting out these videos? You don't know what you're talking about. If the Fed's been raising interest rates and the market's been going up. So what are you talking about within 7 days? And this is Peter Schiff and these other morons trying to scare people. Or I was listening to this one guy, this Rick Rule, who I hate. He's Canadian, by the way, Andrew. He says, well, I hope gold goes down. I'll buy more of it. Do you not understand the difference between derivative and physical? Do I have to keep losing my mind that these idiots do not know the difference between physical and derivative paper gold? Is it because I'm a handicapper and an analyst and a finance person that I understand that? Is that why they don't get it? Because most of those guys are not economists or know anything about finance. They're just sales. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out why they still don't like, well, I hope gold goes down. And you're like, dude, gold is not ever going down. It's going to the moon. Or other guys will go, well, yeah, back a few years ago, it went down and then it came back up. And they're missing the whole concept is it's fixed and it's paper. And now we're moving to physical. It's not the same. And physical's never, nobody's selling gold at this point. They're buying it and holding until the price goes to normal. So everybody's waiting for this price. Nobody's selling. And at maybe when 50,000, you might have a little bit of sales. You'll have far more people wanting it. So the price should never go down. And you just sit there and you're like, what the fuck? You still don't get derivative and paper, or you're still saying, I hope the derivative market goes down to, down to 1,600 and then I'll buy more. He says, but I won't buy more at 2,200. Oh my God. Like, this guy's so clueless. What are you doing on doing a YouTube thing on finance or economics or gold when you don't have a fucking clue? And it's like, if anybody, that's why I go into the comments. Don't listen to this guy. He's freaking Keynesian. He's a communist. He has no clue of paper versus physical. And it's amazing how stupid these guys are, or that, because what the problem I have is the audience being scammed. They're all being made off, right? They're all being lied to. And that bothers me because that's not, when I come on here, it's to educate, not to lie to you. And when they come on, all they're doing is lying. Oh, well, gold might go down. And that's the headline. And then you hear it's derivative gold. And you're like, but you don't even know JP Morgan is not shorting it anymore. They're out of it because they're going to get killed. And they've been buying physical. And they're not even like aware of that. I think they know the fix is in. And they think, well, it'll keep going down because JP Morgan will keep lowering it. So that's really the thought on my other video, which was perception. I was thinking about that the other day, and the perception is that JP Morgan will always fix it, that it'll never blow up out of JP Morgan's hands. And so I can't fight it. So that's why I'm not buying gold, because I looked into it and I know, JP Morgan price fixes it. Therefore, I'm not going to buy it because it won't go up in value, because they don't even understand it's insurance as much as it is anything. They obviously don't understand inflation. So the reason you buy gold is because your dollar is going down. That's your first and primary reason. We're betting Cincinnati because of Burrow in the defense. That's our first primary reason. So that's what they're missing, is that the inflation is happening and it's real, and and you're not stopping it with raising interest rates a little. So they don't understand that the first function is this is going to zero, right? And the only way to stop it is to get something of value that won't go down, which is gold and silver. So that's the first reason we buy gold and silver, is to keep the value, because we don't want to have 100 grand. So, you got 100 grand, you're LeBron James, you got $1 million, or Gates, or these idiots. They got all this money. The first thing you don't want to do is lose the money. That's what you don't want to do. So you're protecting your money from going down. That's step one. Step two is you get the kick because the derivative market's closing, because they need the physical and they don't have it. And everybody's buying physical because they can all see everything's blowing up. And the only winner of the game is the team with the best defense, and the best defense is gold and silver. So the only way you're going to survive this is with gold. Otherwise, you're going to lose all your money, even if it's in the stock market or if it's in real estate. It's funny how everybody goes, you can buy real estate. Oh, really? And what am I going to buy in real estate? All right, so give me a pitch for real estate. Anybody? Bobby, Phil, you want to give me a real estate pitch that I should not buy gold and buy real estate? I'll give you. Phil, are you familiar with Dan Pina? No, he's a finance guru. Far too abrasive for me, but I never heard of him. I can check him out. Why is he abrasive? Does he swear more than I do? I'm kind though. I respect people. If you don't know him, that's okay. I'd never heard of him. Is he an Austrian or a Keynesian? Do we know which side of the fence he's on? What does he say, Phil? What is his point? His personality is tough to hack for me, but of a know it all, it is a bit of a know-it-all. Is that what you're saying? Am I a know-it-all too, or the difference is I actually know what I'm doing. I'm not that. Yeah, I'm a know-it-all, or he's a know-it-all. I always do that with my girlfriend. I'll ask her 5 questions and she answers one of them, and I don't know which question she answered. So now she's getting good at copying my question and answering it with the copy. I don't care. I mean, there's nothing wrong with smart people, but if they're degrading or they're deaf, you're talking about Pena as a know-it-all. The question, does he really know it all, or is he just pretend to know it all and he really doesn't know it all? So when I give you an answer, when I tell you about inflation, I know that's the answer of it, and I can read you what I learned in my master's program. But if this guy pretends to know it all but doesn't, like this Rick Rule and this Rickard guy and these other idiots, Maloney, who don't know it all, they're talking derivative gold, paper gold, not physical gold. So I don't know. So you don't listen to him, and we don't care about him? A finance guru. Okay. I consider myself the professor because I'm giving you a master's class. I don't know what a guru really is, but I'll be happy to challenge this guy or any of these other guys to anything in economics, gold, sports cards, or handicapping, or poker any day. I'd love to go one-on-one with this Peter Schiff guy. I'd eat him up for lunch because I know he's thinks he's an Austrian, and I don't like guys that talk, but they don't say anything, right? They'll just talk, and you're like, what did he just say? I don't understand. He's on hundreds of YouTube videos and TV shows, those type of gurus. They're not gurus, they're salesmen, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. I've never heard of them. I usually go down the finance rabbit hole where I'll watch these guys, but I'm more or less looking for gold or I know what's happening in the economy, and most of them don't even understand what inflation is. They're thinking it's price, not killing the dollar. But I showed you the two British guys that I listened to. So I'm not really chasing guys to hear what they have to say, to learn anything. I found the Brits, and I probably know more than most of these idiots out there. Not to be Mr., I know it all, but just the fact that I know it very well, and listening to them, and I can listen for 5 minutes and I already know they're fucking clueless. There's one guy that he talks big words that I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? And I don't even understand what he's talking about, and it makes no sense to me. But that's me. That's fine. Was just curious, not a big deal. Okay, I mean, but it's good that you do this, Phil, because you hear this guy and then you go, no, this guy doesn't know anything. Because I don't want you listening. I'm trying to teach you from what inflation is. It's the devaluation of the money, period. So when you hear guys talking and they go, well, its price is going up, you go, no, it's not. It's got nothing to do with the prices. So my example is I'm in Toyota getting my oil changed, and how much is a Camry? And he goes, 30 grand, but we can't sell it. So it went up to 30. Is that inflation? The value of the dollar did create it to go up, but now they're going to lower the price because they can't sell it. Is that inflation coming down? That he can't sell it for 30 and now it's 25? So did inflation drop? No. The price dropped, yes, but not because inflation's coming down, because he can't sell his freaking car because nobody's going to pay. I paid 22 for mine. Now it's 30 at 9%. Nobody's going to buy it. There's no demand. It's not. So if costs go up and you raise your price, like the rib guy, the barbecue guy, I'll keep it simple. So if he raises ribs to $40 and the market's 25, is this inflation moving it up to 40? No, that's price going up to 40, not necessarily inflation. Again, inflation is making the dollar worth less, so he's charging more to make his money out of it. But if demand doesn't follow and then he lowers his price back to $26 for the slab of ribs, it was 27. I was there the other day. He was 27, and I told him, I said, I'm proud of you. You're keeping your slab at 27. He says, well, I'm raising some other, like his barbecue chicken up to $13, used to be $9. And that's smart because you'll move from the ribs to the chicken or the steak. He had a 24-ounce porterhouse. It was like $25. And he had a New York strip 8-ounce was like $18. So he does sell some steak. I didn't see a lot of the fish was shrimp, and I think he had one whitefish or something. No lobster or crab. And then he does sell a hamburger and then combinations. So you could get steak and ribs. I got ribs and chicken. So it was $22, which you did raise. Used to be like 19. But then in my mind, okay, I'll pay 21. That's fine. Anyway, so then that's what you got. And but with the price dropping, does that make it inflation going down? No. Inflation is this. This is still being beaten up. This still has less value. What he does with his price, this is not inflation. And if he lowers it, inflation isn't going down, but that's what they're trying to sell you. So a quick question. Does this Dan Paul guy, does he use his hands like this? Does he explain Say's law, supply demand? Does he talk to you or at you? I think that's the difference. I talk to you, not at you. But see, that's the difference. So what they'll tell you is prices are, the ribs went from 35 to 30. Look, inflation's going down. But I go to the grocery store and I'll see Oreos at $5, but then I see buy one, get the second one free. So buy two for $5. So that's what they're doing. So the price is still up, but now I'm going to buy 2 packs of Oreos so they're really $2.50 a piece, but the price isn't going down because you're still paying $5 for one. It's still a $5 per item thing. And I'll see Pepsi at $2.99 or $2.79. So when they throw it on sale for $2 or buy one, get one free at the $2.99, again, it has nothing to do with inflation. It's only about hurting the value of the dollar. That's what inflation is. The prices are the effect, and it's really in the interest rate. So as I talked yesterday, so let's say I'll talk to Phil this time. Sorry, Bobby, but I talked to you last time. So if Phil wants to borrow money from me, or I want to borrow money from Phil, whatever we're more comfortable at. So Phil wants to loan me $10,000, right? But Phil wants to make money on it. He's taking a risk. Will I pay him back? So he says, I'll tell you what, Howard, I'll give you the 10, but I want to make 2,000. I want to get back 12. So in an inflationary period, he actually needs to charge enough to get 14. He needs 14 to get 12, because by the time I pay him back, and the longer it takes, the less money he's getting. He then because his 10 is going to be worth 8, and the 12, he wants 10, he wants 12. So he charges me for 14. Well, no, yeah, he wants to get 12 back. So he charges me 14, but by the time I pay him back, the whole 14 is worth 12. So what does he do to get his 12? He got to charge me the 14. So he raises the interest rate on me and says, Howard, I can't give it to you at 3%. I'm going to have to give it to you at 7%, which gives Phil 14,000. But since they're devaluing and printing the money to zero, he really walks away with purchasing power of 12,000. So he must raise his rate and he must get more money in to get back to his original 10 plus 2. I want to get 12. So to get 12, he needs to get 14. And the longer it goes out, the less he makes. He's got to raise his rate even more. So if it's a 1-year loan, he can do 5%, get maybe 13,000 to get his 12, right? I just needed $1,000. But if he goes out 2 years, he needs to get 14,000 in to get back to 12, because the purchasing power of his 10 and the 12 he wants to get back is going to drop. So now that goes down to 10, goes down to 9. And if he got 12 back, that would go down to 11. So he loses $2,000. So by getting back 14, he actually gets 12. That's what inflation does. As far as Coke and Pepsi raising their prices and Toyota raising their prices, it's got nothing to do with inflation. They can say it is. What does Coke need to charge more, or Orioles? It's short-term stuff, right? They make the Pepsi, they put it on the shelf, it sells probably in 30 days, if that. So, I mean, I used to work at the grocery store when I was just a lad, and I did pop and bear and unloaded trucks and put up dairy and ice cream. So I'd get a whole thing of Pepsi. The Pepsi guy would drive in, he'd drop off a pallet of Pepsis. By the end of the day, they were gone. So Pepsi ships them out. I put them on the shelf. They're bought. Now, if you go over market, they're going to sit there for a while. So that's why they put them. That's why you see things on sale. They're not moving at a grocery store. But for Pepsi to raise their price to $2.99 for 2 liter because of inflation doesn't make any sense, because they're not. Okay, their costs might have went up for some plant, their long-term loans for the machinery and equipment probably went up a little bit. So they have to recover that. That could be their reasoning for raising the price, but you still got to respect your market. If your market's $1.99 and you're $2.99, you're not selling it, because I see pretty full stores when I go to Target. There's a lot of Coke and Pepsi on the shelf, and then I'll go to 7-Up at $1.79, and what am I buying? I'm buying 7-Up. I'm not buying Coke and Pepsi. If I buy pop, which I shouldn't anyway, but same thing with coffee or tea or anything like that. That's really what's happening. So they're lowering. It all comes back to market, right? Steaks, ribs, whatever, chicken. You can mark it up here and you can blame inflation, which really, I'm not going to say it has nothing to do with it, but a very small thing. But you're fighting the market and you got to raise the market, which you can't. So that's the big issue is fighting the market. And so if prices drop, inflation isn't going down, because that's not how you measure it. So that's why interest rates are up. So they're going to lower interest rates. And then they're really fucked, because then they start printing, because they realize they're killing the economy. So do you want to kill the money? So if I raise interest rates to save the money, I kill the economy, because it gets too expensive that nobody can afford anything. So nobody buys anything. Now they think if they raise interest rates and everything gets expensive, and then people don't buy, that's good. No, it stops the economy, puts you in a depression, 1929, and eventually you got to lower your price, because the market's still here and people are going to afford less and less, and then you kill the economy. So by raising interest rates, if you raise prices with it, I can only afford $1.99 for Pepsi. I'm not going to pay. Pepsi has to lower it, and then it gets... now you reach your equilibrium point of where the market's at. and you've killed the economy because less sales happen because the prices are too high. So if I keep raising rates, that's what happens. Then I may save the dollar, but they won't have anything left if I save the dollar. And you can't save it at 5% when inflation's 18, 19%. When you include food, housing, and and the utilities that they don't include. So I could give you stats on the game and then not include half the stats. Oh, okay, this is how we're going to bet. Okay, Phil, what are we talking about? Okay, Phil. Do you think when, for example, Coke raises prices, they do it and have no plans on lowering prices ever again? Absolutely not. They do. They're testing it. It's a test market to see if they can raise the market. Let me read your second comment and get back. Bigger companies like the Cokes of the world may be able to get away with that, where your local butcher may not. Okay, so as I was trying to explain, and I got to do it again. So the market for Coke's $1.99. Coke raises prices, so they go from $1.99 to $2.99. They have no plans on lowering prices ever again. Well, if they don't, they won't sell their product and they go out of business. So they have to get to market. So when they raise prices, they know they're going to lose part of their market. And the question is how much of the market? So there's, let's say 4 people in the market, they lose 2. Now they get 2 people paying the $2.99, but the other 2 people either aren't buying the Coke or buying the 7-Up that's $1.79, or they're buying juice or water or coffee, or they're getting out of pot. They're saying, screw it, we'll go. So these 2 people substitute. These 2 people might pay it. So now they're losing, instead of 4 at $2 is $8. They get 2 at $3 is $6. They just lost $2 in profit because instead of selling the 2-liter for $2 for 4 people for $8, they're only getting 2 guys at the $3 mark, and they're only getting 6. They got to cover their fixed costs and their employees and everything else, their capital, their machinery, the plant. So they will lose money. So they cannot hold the price if not all 4 of the people come with. And they're hoping they do. But in this situation with inflation, I'm not spending $2.99 on a Coke because the market's $1.99 on the Coke. So once you've created the market, which is my whole bitch with the rib guy, you're selling your slab for $25. I'm not going to pay $40. It's not going to happen because I don't have $40 around just to buy ribs that I normally spend $25 on. So he either comes down in price or he says, I'll raise chicken and fish and steak and French fries. And he's gotten rid of can you imagine going to a barbecue place? So you got sauce all over from the ribs, and he doesn't have the wet naps anymore. So what I do is I ask for a glass of water and I pour it on my hands, get a napkin and wipe them out. I go, fine, I'll do it that way. But that's what he does. So you will always lower your prices because you're always trying to get to market and you're always trying to maximize profit. So you're always looking for where's the market at, and this is when I'm selling it. You're always looking for that. So if you're too high, you have to come down. So I've never seen where prices only go up and never come down. That's impossible because eventually inventory will get stuck or the new product will come out and now everybody, what happens when Coke goes on sale? So you have competition, right? That's the beauty of competition. So you said Coke. So Coke's $2.99. Pepsi comes out at $2.59. What are you going to buy? You're going to substitute Coke for Pepsi. Tastes the same to me. I don't know. What do I care? So people run to Pepsi. Now what do? You've just lost all your customers to Pepsi at $2.59. So normally you're going to drop your price to $2.59, or they play games with it, and then Pepsi goes to $2.99 and Coke goes on sale for $2.59. So because of competition, thank God, Austrian economics, we benefit. But if you go to monopolies, if Coke was the only guy out there, they could charge $10. And if you want pop, you have to pay for it, but you would still run into the market saying, I'm not going to pay $10 for pop. So it all depends on the market, which then the recession, how many people are working, how many people aren't working. If I'm not working, I don't have the same money I do when I am working. So that's what happens is you run into that. So yes, you will lower it. And yes, the butcher, well, he's competing with other butchers, so it depends who his manufacturer is. But yeah, normally, well, you're buying a whole cow versus a half cow. So I'm the local butcher. I buy a half a cow and I cut it up. And you're Kroger's and you buy 10 cows. The question is, if you mark yours too high, you can't sell your inventory and I can. So as long as I make money on mine, I can compete. If he charges too much, his stuff's going to sit there. He'll eventually have to lower his price to move his inventory, which is what is business. Phil, the big domestic beer companies most certainly collude together. They raise their prices in unity because they act like a cartel with their market share options and then limited. Is there really competition? Every industry, you name it, has one or two companies that control. Well, Coke and Pepsi is competition. I know there's 7-Up, which is not Coke or Pepsi. There's Dr. Pepper. And here we have like Faygo and Verner's and stuff like that. So there's the off-brand. So yes, just because there's two big companies, you got McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King. They compete all the time. So you got 3 hamburger joints. Doesn't mean they collude and go, okay, we're going to charge $10 because they want to make money. They try to test the market. So McDonald's might be $5.99 for a double. Wendy's will sit there going, well, we're $5.79. I don't see collusion in the hamburger market. I just really, the only real collusion I see is in oil with the Arab countries. They'll get together and set the price as one. They're not competing with each other. Even now to your point, the Shell station and the Mobil and the Exxon and the BP, they're somewhat competing because I will check for prices. I go to Speedway, and if I go to one in one city versus the closer one to me, I'll save 20 cents. So there's a lot of competition. Doesn't matter how big you are to have competition. So Mobil and Shell can still compete. They're not all the same price. So does Budweiser and Miller keep the same price? I'm not aware of that. I worked in the liquor industry, my Canadian club, Bobby. We were not the same price as Crown Royal. We were not the same price as Dewar's. We would check prices, but we never got together and said, this is the price. Now, I know in Canada, the government fixes the price as they do in Russia and some other Romania. That's what we don't want is government setting the price. Then you will not have competition, and then everybody's fucked. That's why America's successful is we have the competition. So Budweiser and Miller can sit there and go, fuck you, you're $10, I'm going to be $9 or whatever. I don't know that they're the same price. I'd be shocked if Bud and Miller were the same price. And then what do you do with Heineken and some of the other beers from, Lowenbrau or what's in Amsterdam? I think it's a Heineken. They're going to see market and go, well, we'll be $1 cheaper. Or we're going to sell our beer as if we're the gold standard. It's better than Miller and Bud because we're from Amsterdam and we're cool. We're European and we got all the girls. So we're going to charge you $1 more, but now you'll feel like you're in Amsterdam. So they're selling a whole different atmosphere than what we're selling. So yeah, there is competition. Go to Ford and GM and Mercedes and you'll see different prices, or Toyota and Ford. You're definitely going to see different prices. You better give better quality to give a better price. Otherwise, people aren't stupid. They're not going to spend it. 1-2 companies is pretty paltry competition. Sure would like to see a hell of a lot more. You can see the consolidation of every industry over time down to 1 or 2 companies. Maybe, but again, if we start from the beginning, why does me and Bobby want to make a pop company? What do we see? What's our profit? What is the market? Can we make 20% if we make Bobby Bo Pepsi or pop or whatever we want to call it? Well, 7-Up. 7-Up's not It's not Coke or Pepsi. It's 7 Up. It's, I think, in the Dr. Pepper family. Then here in Michigan, there's Faygo. So there's more than the two brands you're saying. And I think 7 Up and Dr. Pepper are pretty big brands. So you don't, I don't think you're consolidating. Is Oreos and Chips Ahoy, are you going to go there? Those are the only two. And I'm going to say, but the competition with Oreos is ice cream and cake and donuts, and it all goes under sugar, fattening, killing product. Soup, there's different chili, there's a few different, but you can substitute away from chili with soup. You substitute away from both by buying broth and a chicken and making your own chicken soup. There's different eggs. I know there's 3 or 4 different brands. I tend to buy eggs best or whatever, but if I went to a farm and the eggs were cheaper, I'd buy them from right off the chicken. Going, okay, whether they poop it out or whatever. I'd just wait I'd have my tray waiting for a dozen eggs to poop out, and I'd pay the $2. And I mean, I don't care what the brand is. Probably better at a farm where they're not hormone induced. But no, there's competition. That's the beauty of the U.S. And that's what I'd warn you about with the Keynesians. The Keynesians are communists, Russia, China. They don't want competition. They want the government. That's the problem with Keynes. He doesn't want the competition. He doesn't want me and you and Bobby opening up a pop store or a brand of pop to compete with Coke and Pepsi. He wants the government to control it and say, Coke, you're going to sell for $4 for the 2 liter, or you're only going to sell for $1 for the 2 liter, and price fix them. And then they're all fucked because then they'll go out of business because they need to sell it for profit. So whenever you see price fixing, we're fucked. That's probably coming down the road. Hopefully not. But in America, there's competition. Me and you and Bobby can open up whatever we want as long as we can compete at it. Where we don't want in because it's communist, it's the government saying we're going to make Coke and that's it, or Coke and Pepsi, but we're going to sell it at $10. And that's what you don't want, is the government control. And ask our Canadian friends. I saw Andrew earlier, and then the other guy. You're fucked. I mean, Canada, that liquor, you go to a government-run liquor store to buy your liquor. You don't go to Farmer Jack's or Target or Myers or Kroger's. You go to the Canadian liquor store, and they set the price, and there is no competition. If you're going to buy this, now I'm buying it in America, but if I want to buy this in Canada, I'm going to pay whatever their price is, and I don't have competition. I can't run to the Kroger's and get it cheaper. It's set, and that's Canadians. They don't understand when the government does the government price fixing and there's no competition. You're fucked. And that's what they are. And then they'll say the free healthcare, except for if you got anything more than a cold, you break your leg, it's a month till you see the doctor. Like I said, my uncle needed dialysis. His kidneys weren't working. It was like 3 months and he had to pay for it on his own. So where's the free healthcare? So they're all lying. So that's the difference between the U.S. and most countries. Although Europe's pretty competitive, you want to be able to enter the market, right? So me and you, Bobby, can enter. We can set up a hamburger place or a chicken or pig's ears. I don't see a lot of pig ear restaurant, Bobby. We probably open one of those up, and then you could see what the market is. So you test market. How much can we get for pig's ears? And then once you determine that, then you look at your costs. You got to buy a building. You got to cook them. You got to ship them, and you do with all that. Can we make it for less than the market so we can make a profit? So if the market's $20 for pig's ears, and me, you, and Bobby can do the whole thing and make it for $15, we'll go into business. And that's the competition, and there's nothing they can do with it. Sort of like Bill Gates with computers gets Microsoft, but now he tries to monopolize it by saying, oh, if you buy a computer, you got to get Microsoft on it. And now we're starting to charge you for Excel and that, and I don't like that. And there's really not a lot of competition. So he, again, makes a monopoly, which is totally fucking illegal. and he should go to jail for it. And where's the Department of Justice? Oh, well, he paid them a couple $1 million, so they don't prosecute. That's where it's unfair, and that's where it's heading. It's heading more communistic. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And this is a great example of what really is going on. So when, sort of like Madoff, oh, you can make 20% with me. Well, you do it. Well, I really can't tell you. Well, what the fuck? Then what do you is it magic? Are these magic beans that make it go to 20%? So everybody got what they deserve because they didn't ask the question, how can you get 20%? So in other words, let's turn it around. So here's Coke and Pepsi at $2.99 a 2-liter. And here's Madoff. He's, I can sell you a 2-liter Coke for 35 cents. How can you sell it for 30? How can they sell it for $2.99? You're 35 cents. Don't ask. But if you invest in me, we can sell it for 35 cents. Oh, well, we really don't put all the ingredients in it. We just put some black coloring, and it's really not Coke and Pepsi, but it's 35 cents. And if it sounds too stupid, it is. How can you give 20% when the best I can get, even if the professor would be 8%? I can't get 20%. There's no investment giving me 20% unless I bet football and buy gold and silver. I can't get 20%. And that's really the lesson learned. Bobby, there's the bottle again. Well, I just want to see if you're out there listening. Phil, yes, they do keep the same price. All the prices go up the same time. It's clear they are colluding. What are you talking about? Coke and Pepsi's not doing that. They'll send them on sale. Oil does that, yes. Again, I've asked too many questions that I don't know what I'm getting the answer to. Phil, there is almost a monopoly in every single industry. That is not competition. Well, I'm going to argue with you. Like I just said, there's McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King. They are not a monopoly. They do have their independent. If you drive by, usually they're close to each other. So if you just drove by to see the price of a hamburger, they'd be close, but they wouldn't all be $5.99. Then you got to get to the ingredients. McDonald's killing you. Wendy's is probably a little more healthy, probably the healthiest, and then Burger King. So are they selling the same thing? Is the gas all the same? Now, we know gas is colluded. We know Microsoft doesn't, you're basically getting the Microsoft Excel. That's it. There's really not a lot of competition. Then you substitute like I did, and I got this bullshit computer, this, what the fuck did I buy? I don't know. A Google. So I got Google Chrome, but it sucks. I'd rather have Excel. But I did it to save some money and to substitute. So I'm big into substituting if I won't substitute gold and silver. But even like my polo shirt, I did substitute for Nautica because they wanted like $100 for this, July 4th, and Nautica was $19.99. It's a shirt, so I substituted and saved $80. I would assume Polo is going out of business because I don't know how many people are that loyal to a fucking shirt, status. I don't really care about it. These are very comfortable, and I got this shirt for $39. That's the difference, but I'm not going to spend $100 on it. I'm only going to buy it on sale. And normally July 4th is when they put it on sale, so I was shocked they were $100. I just laughed at them and walked out. I tell a lot of people to fuck off, Bobby. I do it in different ways, though. I didn't say fuck off to them, but I don't take shit like that. But see, I'm smart in those areas, so I know what they're doing. But I know how to combat them is by substitution. That's how we win the game. So yeah, I mean, the monopolies with the government, not necessarily with Coke and Pepsi, not necessarily with Bud and Miller, not necessarily with Oreos, Chips Ahoy, and whoever else, Keebler. I mean, I don't see them as the same price. A monopoly would be only one. Your heat's a monopoly. So you're Philadelphia. So what do you got? Duke Energy. That's a monopoly. You want to heat your home, you're going in through Duke. And you want to put lights on, you're going through Duke. That's what it is. Okay. But if there's competition, there's more than one. So monopoly's only one. The only car you can buy is a Ford. That's a monopoly. But if you have GM, Toyota, Chrysler, and then Hyundai, that's not a monopoly. Now, is it what you're talking about? I think a lot are oligopolies where there's like oil. They are colluding the five. Let's say there's 5 or 7 countries. They're meeting, going, this is the price we're going to charge for oil. Instead of having competition where Iran sells it for one price, Iraq's a little cheaper, Saudi Arabia is a little cheaper, Kuwait's a little cheaper. They get together and say this is the price. But I don't see that. Coke and Pepsi are not the same price, hardly ever. There's always one of them on sale, which makes them not a monopoly. By definition, a monopoly is one. That would mean that Coke, Pepsi, Faygo, 7-Up, Verner's are all $2.99. That would be a monopoly and collusion, but that's not what it is. So the government, the problem with the government is they then assist the one company to get rid of the competition, like Microsoft. So now we're talking Microsoft. Yes, they're trying to be a monopoly, or but Netflix isn't. I got 4 other movie channels and I don't pay for 3 of them. They have commercials. Okay. So I'm ready to get rid of my Netflix, but as long as Money Heist is on it, I got to keep Money Heist. But otherwise, that's not what a monopoly is. So if there is Bobby's Bottle and there's Crown Royal and there's Dewar's, then it is not a monopoly. And what the government will do is say, if you want to, now what should happen is if I go to Kroger's or Target or Meijer's, or, name your grocery store, they should be different prices based on what the grocery store, where the government comes in and says, if you want to sell Canadian Club, so we're in Canada now, you want to sell this, it's $49.99 at any store. That's when government controls, they set the price and they take the competition away. The government knows better than the market. This bullshit, the market knows best. All right, so what are we doing here? Yes, they do keep the price. All the prices go up the same time. I'm not, only in oil. I don't know what else. There was almost a monopoly. No, that's not true. There are stronger competitors. Well, it's like college football. There's Georgia and there's Alabama, but there are Michigan and Ohio State. And then every once in a while, TCU gets good and LSU gets good. So it's not a monopoly. It's just teams are better than the others because they pay their players more. 2 companies that collude is not competition. It's not just utility. Well, but they're not. Show me who's colluding. As I said, Coke and Pepsi are not the same price. If they were colluding, they would be $2.99 and never put anything on sale, but they do. So they're not colluding. Yes, collusion is not competition. Like the oil company is not competition. It's an oligopoly. And because there's 5 or 6 countries getting together, that makes it an oligopoly. But competition, as long as McDonald's is one price and Burger King's another, that's competition. Competition is you have 2 different things. So computers, TVs, there used to be Philips and Magnavox and Sony. That's competition. They never set the price of, if I went to Target for a TV, they weren't all $3.99. They were different prices by different manufacturers. So, Phil, I don't know where you're getting that from, that there's so much collusion out there. I don't see a whole lot except for the oil industry. My silver is taking a while to come in this time. Well, call them up and just track where your order is, Bobby. That's all you can do. What did they tell you when they bought it? Did they say it'll be 2 weeks or a month? We know everybody and their mother is buying it. So, and the fact they're keeping the price down. Now, is that collusion, Phil, that silver is $28.50 an ounce? Is that collusion? But it's weird. It's reverse collusion because JP Morgan wants the price low because they don't want you to buy it. But Russia, China, India, and everybody else is loving the low price. So this is kind of backwards collusion. But that's probably what you're thinking is, yes, that's where JP Morgan wants the monopoly on gold and silver. Problem is, it's China and Russia and India has all the silver, so they have a monopoly on the paper, which is absolutely worthless. But the real physical, there's no monopoly. It's many things have it. I was never referencing Coke and Pepsi. Okay, but that's an example. Does Phil own silver? Yes, I believe he does. Microsoft is not a monopoly to you. You can use Linux or Mac. Exactly. They're trying to be a monopoly, but they have those competition. Of course, I own silver, Bobby. They own literally hundreds of companies in the U.S. Yes, they raise the beer in unity at the same time for their top selling products. But there's competition in beer. And if we're only talking Budweiser and Miller, or are we talking Lowenbrau and Heineken? I mean, there's several different beers you can choose from, and I doubt they're all the same price. So I'm not really sure if you're talking collusion in beer that Bud and Miller are the same price always, and you do price increases. A lot of it is you got to realize the government gets involved in alcohol. So it's not necessarily them, it's the government. Because I know when I worked at Bobby's favorite place, when I worked here at Canadian Club, we were, the government gave us price increases. So it's not the companies, it's the government saying this is what you're going to charge for it because it's alcohol. So we had to charge, if you were going to buy that Canadian Club, any store in America, it would be the same price. But it's not collusion, it's from the government. So the government's just the monopoly. It's collusion, the silver price. No, that's probably more monopoly, but it's becoming silver, but it's becoming, we're getting competition. So right now, JP Morgan sets the price and says $24. And they're trying to be a monopoly and say, we're going to set the price. But what's happening is the reason it's blowing up, this is very interesting topics. You got me on, Phil. So because it's blowing, but because they're trying to keep it at $24, what's happening? Everybody's buying it. So now it's not a monopoly anymore, and it's not colluded because you're trying to do a reverse. Normally you collude like to keep the oil price high, right? So if they colluded to keep gold and silver high, or the monopoly was the other way, where it's $50,000 to buy an ounce of gold, that would be the monopoly that you're talking about. But because it's reversed, it's blown up in their face, and we're saying, fuck it, at this price, I'm going to buy a ton of it. And then you've entered in the Russians and the Chinese and the Indians, and you fucked yourself because you said, well, we'll keep the monopoly at 24, and they're going, this is too low, and they're all buying. Everybody and their mother's buying it, and the price of 24 doesn't work anymore. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying they've tried the monopoly 24 for silver, and I'm saying it's going to 2,000 because now all the customers are buying and buying and buying, and now it's gonna break because you can't keep that monopoly because you don't own it all. So it's broken, right? So now you're going to have competition, and you've got the Russians competing with the London Gold Exchange for gold and silver prices. So the London Gold Exchange is 24. Now here come the Russians saying, no, we want the real price. We're going to compete with you because now we got all this gold with China, and they're going to come out and say, no, it's 40,000. And that's my point. Now, everybody else's point is, well, wait, it's a monopoly. It's controlled. It'll never go up. What I'm saying is, but we've got Russia, China, and the BRICS countries who want it to go up. They're competing with it. So now it's competition, not a monopoly. So this really hones it in good. So now we've killed the monopoly with the competition, and now the price will go up because the competition wants the higher price. Because they have it all. They want the value to go up. They don't want the monopoly. And you can't have a monopoly if there's competition who doesn't want to be in bed with you on the monopoly. So that's basically what happened. So if let's say Russia wants to compete with Duke Electric and sell you energy, that would end the monopoly, because they'd say, you know what, Phil, we're gonna lower your price on the heat and the electric. The Ivan Petrona Electric Company, and we're going to sell it to you for half the price. There goes the monopoly of Duke. Duke's fucked because they can't compete. That's why the utilities are monopoly, because it's very expensive to have a power plant and everything else. So usually once it's in there, they can't do competition. So that's why they're called monopolies for the electric. Hell yeah, Phil. Professor, you like Coke or Pepsi? I prefer Pepsi. Coke's in bed with the woke crowd. I don't like that. Random question: are you a sushi or tacos guy? I've had some sushi with Carmen. She likes it. I don't know. Tacos, not too often, because it's chips, and I don't want to eat too much chips. I'll have one in a while. I'll go to Taco Bell, but generally I'll have Fritos. Let's put it that way. These companies are more than happy to have government involvement most times, only if it helps them. Helps them stamp out any competition so the big stay big. That's what JP Morgan does. So you hit the nail on the head. JP Morgan invented the monopoly. He didn't want the competition, so he goes to the government. And that's why JP Morgan owns all the politicians, because based on the competition, you can't have monopolies. It's illegal. So if I own all the politicians, they're going to vote that way. That's why I'm about to get some volcano rolls. Bon appetit, Bobby. So, Phil, let's look at what's going on. So JP Morgan owns money. You're really capturing everything today, Phil. So JP Morgan owns money, right? They print the money. They own the Federal Reserve, and hence they own the government, because they put all the politicians in Wall Street and they put them in. So they're not going to go against them. Here comes digital currency. I want monopolies. I'm JP Morgan. I'm whoever in the government wanting a digital currency. I'm Klaus Schwab, and I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I'm George Soros, and I'm all the Nazis that want this digital currency. So on one hand, you've got JP Morgan wanting this because he can just go print $1 million, stuff it in his pocket, he's happy, versus the digital currency guy. So you're going to have this fight, and I'm saying JP Morgan's going to win because he controls all the politicians that are in his pocket, like Don Corleone, who sit there and would vote for this, right? So if they want to remain in office, they're voting for JP Morgan. And it needs Congress to do this. So what will happen is they'll have competition. So they'll come out with digital dollars. JP Morgan will have his dollars. They will only control banks, not the people, and JP Morgan keeps the people. And that's exactly what you have now. JP Morgan has a monopoly on this. He's the only one that can print this. So he likes that. He doesn't want to give that up. So that's why you'll never see the dollar go away, which is why I tell you, you'll never have digital dollars completely. You will have it like you have Bitcoin. But again, you're fighting JP Morgan. He has the monopoly on this. Here comes Bitcoin. Here comes gold. So in the U.S., he can fight Bitcoin. In the U.S., he can fight gold. But because gold's now Russia, China, India, and the rest of the guys, he can't fight the whole world. That crumbles. The U.S. dollar goes down, and then the rest of the world saying, we want to have competition in gold and silver, hence the price going through the roof, because now we got competition, and now it's going to go in reverse, where you're keeping the price high with the monopoly, like your utilities. These guys come in and the price is low. They got demand, so now they're going to let the price run up. The kind of reverse monopoly, and that's what's going to happen with gold and silver. That's why I get frustrated when these morons on YouTube say, and they look at derivative gold and they think it's still the monopoly, and what they're missing is the physical gold, which Russia, China, and have a gold-backed currency. It's going to raise the price because you're fucking around with your dollars and you're ruining them. Now makes gold the competitor that you didn't want because you fucked up with what you had. So you've ruined your own monopoly, which can happen. So if you had the monopoly on horse and buggies and Ford starts making cars in the 1910s, 1920s, even though you have a monopoly on the horse and buggy, nobody wants it anymore. There's no demand. She became the fat, ugly girl, and everybody bought the Ford because now I don't have to feed the horse. I can put gas in it and drive it. And now I can drive around in the car. And that's the same thing that happened. So, yes, you have a monopoly, but the way to get rid of the monopoly is nobody wants it anymore. So I have a monopoly of nothing. So if Microsoft was a monopoly and you're telling me Linux and the other, okay, I've heard of, I hate Apple, but I've heard of Linux. I don't know how you buy it on a PC or a laptop, but okay, let's say that if everybody wants Microsoft and nobody wants Linux and Apple, then he has a monopoly. So only by the choosing of the competition do you have that. So that's what the dollar and the gold's all about, is they want to be the monopoly of something that nobody wants. And as everybody gets out of the dollar, all the BRICS countries, there's 55 countries out of the dollar, and I just showed you Argentina and Brazil, and they're all coming out with their new currency, so they don't have to dick around with the dollar. You have a monopoly that nobody wants. You don't have a monopoly. Yeah, you have the monopoly on the dollar, but nobody wants it. And then you don't really ever have a monopoly on gold. It's just another piece of it's just Pepsi, right? It's Pepsi and Coke. I can buy gold and silver, or I can get currency, but I know gold and silver is never going to lose the value. These always lose the value. So even though it's a monopoly, so if we go back, Spain had the monopoly on it, then France, then Britain, and now us have the monopoly lead currency where you have to trade in my currency. So basically, let's say that's a monopoly, but what happened? They all fucked up. They all inflated. They all printed it to death. So nobody wanted it. So you have a monopoly of nothing. So if you don't I don't drink beer, so I don't care. You can have a monopoly on beer, but if nobody drink it, so if everybody switched from beer to my bottle, it doesn't matter. You have a monopoly on beer or not. If there's no demand for it, the price is zero. If I can't sell it, it's not a monopoly. That's why utilities are, because it's very hard to come in and compete. And therefore, you're stuck with the heating and the electric bill that you get. That's what happens. But as far as normal monopoly, that's what JP Morgan wants, is monopolies, because he understands I don't want competition because I can lose, right? I don't want to compete. Burrow's competing with Mahomes now. Mahomes doesn't want the competition because Burrow's better. So he's freaking out now going, shit, I got competition. It'd be nice if I was the best quarterback and there was no competition. I have a monopoly. So from a consumer standpoint, us being the buyers, we do not ever want monopolies. We want competition. It improves quality and it lowers price because they're battling. So like Polo and Nautica keeps them in check. I got to make a better shirt and I got to make it cheaper so people will buy it, because I'm in business to sell this. I can only sell it if I set a price that the market, so I got to understand the market, and I can only set the price that the market will buy. And therefore, that's the key to it all, right? So if competition enters in, I better make a better shirt, and I got to watch my price because they won't buy mine if they don't think there's a difference. That's why you hear the gold standard with certain things, or Saks Fifth Avenue, or Ferrari, or Porsche. There is no substitute. Notice how they use the word substitute, which means you can't buy another one to compete with Porsche. That's what they were saying. That's what little Tommy Cruise was saying in that Risky Business. There's no substitute. Ferrari said, fuck you. Maserati said, fuck you. Mercedes said, fuck you. And guess what? There's a lot of competition to it. I don't even hear Porsche anymore. So what happened to their no substitute? But that's what we do as the consumer. We want a substitute, right? If Bellagio is $20 and Caesars is 15, I'll buy Caesars. I don't give a shit. Now, when it comes to silver, then there really isn't a substitute. It's silver. So all you can do is okay, the U.S. Eagle is $35 because it's actual currency, but the Buffaloes and the other Eagles and the Maple Leafs are cheaper because they're actually not U.S. dollars. They're actually an ounce of silver. They're bullion, but we don't give a fuck because we want to buy an ounce of silver. I just want to buy silver. And that's the thing is silver and gold, they don't compete with the dollar. They blow it away. There really is no competition for gold and silver, truly. But if they brainwash enough people into believing that it's worthless, why would they do that? Do they not understand it's money and there's no real competition for it? It's gold and silver is the best you could have. That's why it's a gold standard, because you can't beat it, right? So how does this compete with gold? Well, they give you a bunch of lies saying gold's worthless, buy this. Really? You'd rather have this versus gold? You'd rather have gold and silver any day of the week? You'd have to be an idiot to not want gold and silver versus the dollar. This loses its value because it's printed by nothing. And then why do they always come out with dollars backed by gold if gold's worthless? Why was it on the Briggs system from 45, 46, for the whole world to be on a dollar backed by gold? Why would they do that if they don't need gold? So as soon as they take gold away from the dollar, they fuck it up. It inflates. They cause massive inflation, unemployment, recessions. They kill the value of the dollar. And guess what? Gold's still sitting there at a higher value. So gold went from $35 to now it's what, $2,000. How did gold? I mean, gold didn't get hurt. And it's really not worth $2. So if you can think like me, you go, wait a minute, that's paper gold, $2,000, physical gold, $50,000. That's what I get frustrated about. These idiots on YouTube keep talking paper gold, not knowing that's not the real price. That's the paper derivative price fixed, not the real physical. And they can't understand the real physical price, except for me, you, and Bobby. Nobody else really understands that the physical price of gold's way up there, and silver. It's not the $28 that Bobby just bought it for. That's the derivative paper price, and they're selling a million ounces of silver that they don't own. It's not a real sale. It's not a real price. And that's what I keep trying to hit the nail on the head, is saying we're getting the physical. And now with the Russians and the Chinese making the physical market, now we'll get a real physical price, which is much, much higher because they price fixed the paper price down. And so once you realize that it's not the paper price we're after, but the physical price, you can see why you go buy as much for $28 as you can possibly carry, because you can see that's not the real price. It's the paper fake price. And how long does JP Morgan hold a monopoly on it? It's slipping because the Russians, Chinese saying, no, we are going to compete with you. And once there's competition, who benefits? We benefit. So that is exactly what's going on. What is a volcano roll? Is that does shit come out of the top like a volcano does? Like lava comes out of it? Glad to help and get a better understanding myself. Well, Phil, this is what this class is. This is about people coming with questions that they don't know to get educated. And then I try to, if I can, answer them. If I can't answer them, I learn and I answer them next time. But that's... I spill open my treasure chest saying, this is everything I've learned. I got a fucking master's in it. And I actually learned in school where the undergrad, I didn't learn shit. At my undergrad economics, I couldn't tell you one thing I learned there. I had no idea, because he was using very fancy words. and it was Keynesian and not Austrian. In my Austrian, we didn't do one chart. I took 3 Austrian economics classes, a macro, a micro, and just an overall what it is and what Keynesianism, and that we didn't do one chart. There's not one chart I have in here. The closest thing I come is this thing, which shows you the 3 different inflations, which are kind of meaningless. I mean, one's just they printed a lot, but the prices haven't come, or they printed a lot and prices equal, or they printed a lot, but prices are going up faster, like Nazi Germany. But it doesn't matter. The inflation is the inflation. You're printing too much money. How people cannot grasp that simple concept blows my mind. How people think gold doesn't go up or is that its real price blows my mind. I can't even comprehend it. I don't even know what to do. It's too frustrating to try to go back to zero and explain it to people that don't even get it, that can't even get it for some reason. So I don't know. That's when I watch these idiots who pretend to be economists on YouTube, and I just roll my eyes, going, "These are the dumbest idiots in the world. Don't ever buy or listen to any of these guys, because they are fucking clueless. They can't even answer their own title. Oh, gold and silver is going down. Why don't you say derivative gold and silver is going down, or paper gold and silver is going down? Because that's really what you're talking about." Or somebody saying, the economy is going to collapse. No, what they're saying is interest rates are probably going to go down and the stock market's going to crash. So why don't you just fucking say that in your introductory, interest rates off stock market to crash? Why do you need to just say the economy is crashing, but really you mean the stock market, which we already know because of the inflation, that's what's going to happen. Unbelievable. Bobby, I am enjoying class and aren't with everything that the professor is saying except for Burrow being better than Mahomes. You aren't with everything or you don't understand everything? Do you disagree with me or you just can't follow me? Because I want to make sure you follow me. If you don't, I'd like to know what you disagree with and I will re-explain it. But what I say is all factual. I'm telling you the truth. If you don't want to hear the truth, that's a different story. Or I'm just making a joke, as Bobby does with his silver. So Bobby's always like in left field or right field, wherever he played. What position did you play, Bobby? All I know is you batted 4th behind Barry. Did you see Barry at the 49er game on Sunday? They're showing Jerry Rice and Roger Craig and Montana's there. What the fuck's Barry Bonds doing at a 49er game? He didn't play for the 49er. He's not allowed there. He's got to sit in the stands like everybody else. And how come you weren't there? If Barry was there, why didn't he send you a ticket or stand on the sidelines next to him in Montana? You could have talked gold with those guys. You're missing all the points. I didn't see it. Well, then Brady's gone. So where's Brady going to go? Dallas? Or is he going to Baltimore? Or maybe Houston? So very interesting. But that's the reason the U.S. is so strong is competition, right? Coke and Pepsi, it's Ford and GM. But look what happened to Ford and GM when all the competition came from Honda, Mercedes, Audi, BMW. They collapsed. They couldn't compete with them. Ford has got to be the stupidest company I've ever worked for or seen. Bad product, expensive, bad service. And, if you get your car fixed at a Ford dealership, they're very rude to you. Not like Toyota. They're very nice to you, Toyota. But anyway, I think the hard part's explaining what Phil just did, which is gold and silver are fighting the monopoly of the dollar. So if we talk it, what we just saw, this is the monopoly. And so they're holding the price of gold down, not an oligopoly. So what JP Morgan should be doing is having an oligopoly, including gold with this. That's really what they should be doing. They shouldn't be trying to keep gold out of it. And then here comes Bitcoin, and now that's competition, and they're freaking out. So all this is competition to this fiat money, and that's why we say gold and silver is real money. So that's what you have to understand, is that's real. Gold and silver are real money, and you can't monopolize against them. You can hold them down to a point, but even if it's a monopoly against, it's still 2,000 an ounce. Yes, it should be 50. Silver should never be 24. That's why everybody says it's ridiculous. Just because the value of this has dropped so much, silver has to be $100, $200 an ounce. But what people aren't getting is they think that JP Morgan will hold the monopoly when the BRICS countries are saying, no, we're going to compete with you with gold and silver, or have a gold and silver monopoly, and you can't compete with us, because at the end of the day, more people want gold and silver than want the dollar, and that's what's happening. So the dollar's being blown up by all these countries getting away from it, and they're all running to gold and silver, and they're going, all the central banks buying gold and silver, everybody getting out of the dollar. What have we done? And that's the problem when you made it too cheap. You didn't allow it to compete with the dollar, and that's why you fucked up JP Morgan. The gold as part of the monopoly. So these should be backed by gold. They would have held their value, but because you didn't, you've lost the value, and that's because the Keynesians say, oh, just keep printing money. Just keep printing. It doesn't matter, the price, it doesn't matter what happens, just keep printing money. And then people wake up like they did in Germany with the wheelbarrow full of money for bread and milk. And people are waking up going, shit, this is crap. I need gold and silver. We're ahead of the curve there, but that's really what it is they're JP Morgan's trying to sell this as this is the only thing. This is the dollar. This is a monopoly. But he's getting competition, which he can't deal with. And we are opening our eyes going, yeah, I want the other product. I'm substituting this for gold. And that's what I'm teaching you, is that the gold value is way undervalued by it. And all you're doing is taking this to buy gold. So you're really not spending $1. If anything, you're making 20 times on every purchase, because the silver you're buying at 28, you're taking this to buy that. The difference is the silver is really worth, let's say, 2,000 an ounce. Eventually, once the competition goes, which is it's going, once that happens, you're going to make a ton on your silver, but this is going down because this is over. People got to realize that, but that's the whole key to it. It's the monopoly. And like Phil said, Microsoft is not a monopoly, even though it's a very strong player, or Coke and Pepsi, or McDonald's and Burger King. They're not monopolies, they're competitors. And just like the dollar and the gold are competitors, they're not. He took the wrong end of the monopoly. If I was JP Morgan, I would have got on the gold side of the monopoly. I once, when I was younger, my brother, who's an idiot, basically tried to do a stop smoking clinic. So he got on the wrong side of smoking. Instead, you get on the smoking side because it's addicting. So I'm going to smoke a pack, and it's like, let's look at Coke. I'm going to have a Coke, I'm going to have another Coke, or have another Pepsi or Coke, whatever the brand is. I'm going to have 1 million of them because they're addicting. So he gets on the stop smoking side of it. Okay, so I get somebody to stop smoking. He's done. So how many people want to stop smoking? I can't even get people to buy gold. And that's the biggest no-brainer in the world. And yet, how many people are going to want to stop smoking? Once you get them to stop, then what happens? Now your customer's done. But if I'm on the smoking side, once I get a new guy smoking, he keeps buying and buying and buying. And that's the difference. So that's what I'm saying. With gold and silver, you want to be on that side. So JP Morgan should have been on the gold silver side instead of the money side. He says, I can print. But what he's missing is you could have raised the price on gold and silver to $50,000 an ounce and bought it cheap. Is he doing that? Well, he's doing that late in the game, but he's fucked up. what he's doing. He should have been doing that all along. He's got 300 ounces, I think, or 30 ounces, 3 ounces. I don't know. I'm confused. I think he has 300 ounces, which is a lot for JP Morgan. But so he did buy the gold. So he went against his own monopoly, but that's really what it is the dollar is a monopoly for money. But everybody, if nobody wants it, it's not a monopoly. So it's like the utilities. If you're in Florida and you're a heat utility, you probably are going to get your ass kissed because nobody is going to buy because they don't need heat in Florida most of the time. So that's the big problem. So as the dollar, if nobody wants the dollar, where do you go? And the way it's set up, that's what I researched. Well, I can't go into the euro. I can't go into the Swiss franc. I can't go into the British pound because they're all fucked. They're all printing them to death. They're all going to zero. So I couldn't go anywhere. The only other place was gold and silver. And that's what you got to realize. So it is a competitor to the dollar. That's why they fight it and keep the price down so you won't think it's a competitor. And half of America doesn't even understand monopolies and competition anyway because it ain't fucking taught in school unless you're lucky enough to go to a school that I went to, which was Austrian economics, which is all about Say's Law and Adam Smith and all the monopoly competition and how do you go into business to compete, which is the whole America, which is why we're so strong in the first place, which why these idiots are fucking it up by getting rid of the competition and putting in government monopolies everywhere they can. And if you say the wrong thing, we're going to throw you in jail. And if you're in business, we're going to tank your business and tax it. It's fucking ridiculous that they're turning a very competitive country, which has grown through the roof, the best that's ever been in the world, and they're just fucking it up. Then you got to ask yourself, why are they doing that? It really makes no fucking sense. To do what they're doing, there's no reason for it unless you want to be in a monopoly and you think you're better off monopolizing the U.S. than having the competition. For us, we want the competition because then if we don't like something, if I don't like Polo, I go buy Nautica or I buy another brand, right? That's my choice. The government doesn't want you to have choices. They're going to make Polo a monopoly. You have to buy the Polo shirt. But we're here as the consumer. We want choices. We want substitutes. If we don't want the dollar, we want gold. That's our choice. That should be the law, and that should be what we're doing. That's what we're fighting for. And that's why we roll our eyes. People like me understand exactly what's going on, that they want monopolies, that they want to take our freedoms away of substituting, of taxing us, of trying to force us in the dollar or trying to make digital dollar be the monopoly. And we want gold and we want to have a choice of buying gold and silver because we know that will compete with anything and it's stronger than anything. And that's why the Russia's coming out with dollars backed by gold. Well, why would they do that? Because they know they want to be in the monopoly with the gold, not against the gold. And that's really what it all comes down to. And that's why I bitch at you guys to buy gold and silver because it's being held down and everybody's running to gold and silver now, realizing that this is shit. And so is the euro and so is the yen and all that shit. So because it's all shit, they're all going to gold and silver, and that's going to raise the price because of demand going up. Demand goes up, price goes up. That's just the law. Bobby with the volcano, glad to help. Hey, Ron, how are you today? So, Bobby, I guess you're just joking, or again, you're drinking before noon, so you confuse me. Anyway, so that's what's going on in Monopoly land and football, poker. Poker's very much competition. What else is there? So why is Russia invading the Ukraine? What's the monopoly play there? I really can't tell. That's what I can't understand. Hitler was after oil because he didn't have any. That's why he invaded Russia where the oil was and North Africa where the oil was. And then he just needed natural resources. So that's what Hitler was doing and stealing all the gold from everybody. I don't know what Putin's doing. There's oil there, but he's got oil. All right, he has a few gallons of oil to his place, but are you going to war with the Ukraine for it? Couldn't you just bought it from him or made a deal with before you go to war? And then you're what did my girls say? So my Ukrainian girlfriend says, what'd she say? Again, rockets bomb on all Ukraine. So that's how she talks. So again, he's bombing the Ukraine with rockets. What is the point? What is he doing? He's not there's nothing he's really hitting. That girlfriend's got nothing around her but fields. She's in an apartment. There's it's a little city and then there's fields. What is he hitting the fields for? What is he thinking? Well, I'll win the war because because of the fields. I mean, what is that? Anyway, normally you go to war for oil or gold, something worth going to war for. I don't like wars because the people in charge of creating the war aren't the ones fighting. So let Putin and Zelensky, go in the ring, have McMahon be the ref, and whoever wins whatever they're fighting for. But they send all the troops out there. Like, what the fuck is that? I mean, I don't know who invented that. It's just crazy the way they fight wars. It's like, well, I'm going to make the decision, but I'm not actually going to fight. You guys go kill each other. I don't care. Unbelievable. But they've been doing it for a long time. Even the Romans did it. So I don't know. I don't get it. It's beyond me. But that's what they're trying to do is monopolize everything. So that's what we got. We've got right now the monopoly on the dollar, which every country in the world is trying to get away from. Between these rate increases and the inflation and the sanctions, nobody wants to be in bed with the U.S. anymore. And then you got to figure out, well, why are the U.S. doing this? They don't want the partners either, I guess. So they're doing it on purpose to piss everybody off, which makes you wonder who's running the U.S., which is why I say I go China. I'll take China and lay 7 that they're running the country because it all fits in what would benefit China. If we collapse, they benefit. So you always got to look at who benefits from everything. And that's my take on that. What's going on? So I like checking Google to give you these stories. Pakistan's economy nears collapse as foreign currency reserves plunge. Well, let's read this. This is the Financial Times. Pakistan's rupee plunges as authorities loosen control to revive bailout. Liberalistic of exchange rates come as economic crisis worsens and reserves dwindle. Pakistan has abandoned control on its currency exchange rate as authorities attempt to revive an IMF bailout, sending the rupee to a record low as the crisis hits. Pakistan's central bank has in recent months enforced an unofficial exchange rate for money changers that kept the rupee artificially high. So they weren't at market. They were government control. They were communist, basically. Analysts say creating a black market for currency. There you go. So people don't like it, then they'll trade on their own. But traders said authorities withdrew those curbs on Thursday in order to meet an IMF demand to liberalize the exchange rate. The official bank rate ended the day nearly 10% lower, 255 to the dollar. So instead of letting the market control it, they didn't let the market control it. They tried to price fix it, and they fucked themselves. Pakistan's economic crisis has worsened in recent days as the country's foreign reserves run low. So basically, when you inflate, you fuck yourself, which is what Pakistan's doing. So you don't think that's going to the rest of Europe, and you don't think that's going here. I got oceanfront property to sell, you guys in Detroit. This is the problem. In other news, my coins are just arrived. Well, there you go. You speak, and then you go. So what were you making? What was your comment? I am enjoying class and aren't with everything that the professor is saying. Do you mean you don't understand it, or you don't agree, or it's just a joke? What are you saying there, Mr. Bobby? Well, sometimes when you write, I don't know what language it's in. You have a tendency to do that. So, who's went bankrupt? Greece, Sri Lanka, now Pakistan, India's next, China, Japan, the euro. This is happening to all of them, and the way we raise the interest rates are fucking everybody over. So this is coming. It's starting there, then it'll go to other countries. It affects us because there are trading. Pakistan's now bankrupt. What do? They got to get on gold. I said I am agreeing with everything, but the professor is saying except the burrow better. Oh, okay. God, Bobby, we got to teach you how to quote here. That's okay, Bobby. I'm used to you by now, so I know. That's why I asked. What are you saying? Well, this weekend he's better because he's healthy. Mahomes isn't. Otherwise, yeah. What's Ute? Ute. Well, who said that, Bobby? Probably. Who said Ute? I don't see that. Did I say Ute? I don't know. So anyway, that's so you can see that's what's coming, right? There's always a action and a reaction. The action, they went broke. Guess who's next? India, China, Japan, and Euro. As I pointed out yesterday, they're all coming out with new currencies, and they haven't all come out in 2024. And they better be fucking backed by gold, or they won't last 6 months. Yeah, I know, Cousin Vinny. I brought that story up earlier. I like Burrow a lot, but he needs to get a ring or two first. Well, he's going to get. Well, I don't know if he'll get a ring here. It's going to be between him and the San Francisco Philadelphia challenger. I don't know. I guess Purdy could win one. Purdy's fine. I don't have a problem with Purdy, but I think Burrow beats Purdy and Hurt. I think Burrow's could get it. It's hard to beat Burrow. I'll tell you that. Okay, Ron. So you just nobody said you. Herman Munster said the two Utes. Yeah, I used that as an example earlier with the magic beans on the stove when he made his grits. Took 5 minutes. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm with you. It's a very good movie. Too bad Herman died. So sad, but he was great. I mean, because he was great as Herman Munster. And then he does this as the judge, and you're waiting for him to jump up and down like Herman does. And he was very good. I believed he was a judge from Yale. I mean, I believed he was a judge. He played it very well, very straight. I was expecting at least like I want it, like he did in the Munster so long. I still watch it. It's on Sunday afternoons on this one channel. And it's like back to back. You can watch like 6 episodes. So my favorite one's on this week. I never saw Pet Cemetery. I never saw a reason, but my favorite one's on. He plays baseball for Leo DeRocher and the Dodgers, and he hits the ball like 6 miles, and he throws the ball too hard for the players. I just love that baseball one. Bobby, you can probably relate to it too. Did you have a Herman Munster on your team? We had Barry, so that's close. But yeah, that's what we have. So you got to be careful if you go on YouTube and you watch these idiots telling about gold and silver, the economy, or it's about to crash. Just ignore it. These guys are they don't explain anything, or they assume. I'm telling you that since gold and silver is competing with the dollar, it's going to win because it's the better product. But I can't tell you tomorrow. I can tell you it's going to win soon. And maybe that's 3 months, 6 months, a year. But I know that's where we're headed because it's dollar. A dollar that gets printed to oblivion cannot compete with gold and silver, especially when the gold and silver are kept down at low prices and everybody buys them. And eventually you run out and still people want to buy them. And then the price has to go up. And JP Morgan's sitting there going, no, it's a derivative. Silver's $24, everybody. And they're already paying $500-$600 because they've run out of supply because everybody has substituted away from the dollar. So that's what you're really going to have. As you substitute away from Coke at $2.99 to Pepsi $2.79, you substitute away from this piece of shit to gold and silver, because the value of the gold and silver you can buy with this, you just trade it. Only this is going down and that's going up. So it makes no sense not to be in it. And people that don't understand that, you just walk away and say, well, you've had a nice life. Good luck finding food soon. I mean, you don't know what to say to them when you know you're right, because you know they're going to substitute away. So thanks a lot, Phil. You really clarified it by going to what you went, which led to monopoly substitution and competition. And really, that really explains gold more than anything I've tried to explain it. Is that's competing with the dollar. They want a monopoly because it's JP Morgan, but you don't have one because gold and silver are there. The monopoly would only be if there was Coke and there was no Pepsi. The oligopoly is if it's Coke and Pepsi saying we're going to be $2.99 and there was no other brand of pop. That would be the oligopoly. But you have dollars and you have silver and gold. You have competition that's already there. You're fucked if you're trying to compete with gold and silver with that crap. You can't compete with it. So your only option is to come out with a new one that has gold and silver in it, and then you're kind of competing gold and silver physical with dollar gold and silver. Then you could kind of do it, but you don't have enough gold and silver to compete. So you're trying to compete. What you're really trying to compete with is you have a Ford and you're trying to compete with Mercedes. And you're saying, well, look at Mercedes, but we have Ford. And you're trying to compete with it. And you're like, once people realize Mercedes is 100 times better than a Ford, you can't compete. Well, once people start realizing this is a piece of shit and gold and silver are money, that they don't compete. Gold and silver is 100 times better than this shit. But people don't understand that because they're not taught it, and they're not taught to look at it like that. So thank you, Phil, because that really ties my argument together of why you buy gold and silver and why you get out of the dollar, because it can't compete with gold and silver. So it's like Davis Mills on Houston competing with Joe Burrow. He can't. He's not in the same league as that. So that's my point. It's not competitive. And that's what you have. Gold and silver, the dollar is not competitive with gold and silver. And they're trying to keep it down. They're trying to play these derivative games going, look, gold and silver isn't worth anything. All right, let's see what my boys are doing today. The gold price today. It's at 1948. Let's see what it is on this gold price. 1930. I think one's the actual price and one's the futures. This is 1930. Oh, look at the dip at 10 o'clock. So if we look at 10 o'clock, you can see the dip. See it? And then boom, back up. So again, now this one lasted till about 11:30, but it went up a lot yesterday. So you can see that big dip at about 9:45. Dip, and then it kind of came up. That's what gets you that little come up at 10. So you might have bought that, and then it drops, and then you had to come up at about, well, it looks like about 11:30, and now it's back up at 2 o'clock, way up. So that's what sometimes gets you is that double dip at 1931 at 10 o'clock. It started to go up. You buy it. Wait, no, we faked you out. That happens once in a while. So sometimes let that run a little bit. Normally you won't make as much, but you won't get trapped. Here, you would have bought it at 1931, and then it went down to 1923, and now it's back to 1931 if you bought it like that. Let's see what Bobby Silver's at, 23.94. And then gold for the 30 days. Gold for the last 30 days is up $142. Gold's not good. Now, do we have a way to measure this? I don't know how we can. But so what'll happen is fat ugly girl at the bar, she goes to zero. Your gold and silver, though, do not go to zero. They then create their own price because they're gold and silver, which always has a price. And that's really the big difference. Gold and silver can't go to zero. It's impossible. You would think, well, wait, if this goes to zero, gold and silver goes there. No, gold and silver then go up even high. They go to the next roof because then there is no competition. They become the monopoly. The money goes away. And now to make all your transactions, you need gold and silver. So I was reading that yesterday. It's like, fuck, I got to buy even more silver. Bobby, you got to buy like 100 ounces because you're going to need it to go to Target, and you're going to need it to go to the grocery store. Go get your pig's ears and your pig's feet and maybe even a whole pig. You're going to need it because there won't be money around to buy your stuff. And I think what will happen is the grocery stores are going to stop taking the crap. So you go to Kroger's and you're going to try to pay them with that, and they're going to say, we don't want it. I think that's what's going to happen. Then you're going to pull out an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver, and they're going to say, yeah, we'll take that. That's okay. And that's really where we're headed. We're headed for this to go to zero, but we're the only ones who understand that. All these other bozos don't even get that there's a physical market. They're in the derivative world somewhere. And do they even know when the dollar goes to zero that gold will go 100 times up? Do they know that? We'll be buying Mercedes with that quarter ounce of gold. Do these guys know that? I don't know because they're still looking at the derivatives. Oh, the price is $1,500. Well, if you think that, you're out of your minds. You should be embarrassed you're even saying that. So, I mean, I think gold really is about 20 to 30,000 right now, and silver's at least 1,000 right now. We just got to prove it in a physical market. But once it's proven, then the demand triples and the price triples. And that's why when I talk 50 might be low. And when I talk 2 to 3,000 in silver, it's probably going to be more like 10. But we will see, because as the dollar goes out, it's not going to be priced in dollars anymore. So that's really, oh, you want to go to Hawaii? Yeah, I got 2 ounces of silver. Get on the plane. That's what will happen, because the businesses, what are they going to do? I'll go out of business. You're going to end the world by having no businesses, no food, no restaurant, no grocery stores, no drugstores. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, that's where I just don't see all these businesses going out. They're still going to want to sell their inventory. Cornflakes is still going to be there. Kellogg's is going to go out of business? No. The steel companies, the tire company, Firestone's going to go out of business? No. They'll just have to get to the price where they can sell their goods. As demand drops, so now you got a Camry or whatever car you want to sell. Now the dollar goes out. What are you going to sell the Mercedes for? There's Mercedes. It's $90,000. Oops, there's no more dollars. So what does Mercedes do? Go out of business or say, what can we do to sell our car? And here comes Bobby, and he says, well, if Bobby had gold, he'd come out, well, I got an ounce of gold. I'll give you that for the car. And they'll take it because there's no other avenue for them to get money in. That's why they take it. The monopoly is gone, and now it's the competition of the gold and silver, which then becomes the monopoly because you really can't compete with gold and silver on a normal field, only when it's price fixed by our favorite scammer, JP Morgan. But when you own the government, that's why he's not in jail. That's why Madoff didn't get discovered. He's in bed with the SEC. All that happened because the government is fucking paid off and fixed. So that's what happened to that. So that's the future, right? What's Mercedes going to do? Go out of business, or they're going to sell their cars? And you own houses. People are going to be leaving their houses because they can't afford them. You walk in with gold and silver and you can buy the house because that is real money, even if it's bullion. So if you have a James Bond gold bar or a Credit Suisse little one, that is money. It is legally money. So therefore, the guy leaves his house. The bank has it. This is gone. The aliens are all flooding down to destroy us all. You all have your block of gold, and you'll be able to buy something because that'll be real money, and people will still need real money, and that'll be it. So that's where we're headed. It's really scary that this is what they want to do with the fucking economy, but that's the reality of it, and that's how you protect yourself. So you'll have the gold and silver. That'll keep us afloat for a while. I don't know. And we will see. But that's the beauty of it. So the monopoly collapses. So what normally happens is you come out with a new dollar, like the euro and the yen. If it's not backed by gold, it goes away 6 months later anyway, because people will go, well, this isn't better than the one that just collapsed. What do you think they're doing in Pakistan now? You think they're putting another dollar that's worthless, or you think they're putting a dollar out by gold, or you think they're selling gold? That's what they're doing. So let's look at what's happening in Pakistan, and we'll view that to what's going to happen here. Or the euro. The euro collapses. What's going to happen in Germany and Austria and Switzerland? What's going to happen? Well, Swiss has the Swiss franc. They were smart. But what happens when the euro collapses? Well, then those with the gold and silver survive, and those don't. I have no fucking idea. They should be buying gold and silver now. At least silver will protect you, even though it's only it's $28 for an ounce. Like, it's a no fucking brainer. No, I'll stay in stocks. Yeah, they'll protect you. Because if nobody's in business, what's the value of the stock going to be? Anyway, anything else? Anything we want to go to? Let's take the last look at football. What's today? Thursday. So we got Philly 2.5, 46.5. We go into all the casinos and we still see 2.5, 46. Now, isn't it weird? It's the 2.5 and not 3. Now, I'm not going to analyze the number, but it's weird that it wouldn't just be laying the 3. 46.5 is the total everywhere. There's 146. So it's a weird number. KC's 1 and 1 and 1 and there's one pick'em. There's 1 2.5. There's 1 1. There's one pick'em. Interesting. So if there's SI, it's 2.5. Then there's a pick'em and 1. So most of the places you're getting 1 or even. And the total 47.5, 147, which is strange because if Mahomes is playing or not playing, it's a very, very strange number, the total. So again, we like Cincinnati as the dog. We like him very much as the dog. And then Frisco, Philly, it's the dog and the under. You can go either way, whatever you're more comfortable with. If you're an Eagles fan, maybe you go.
Going over scores.com where you got picks for me, means all the grades, plus you get access to our nice little prop shop and go.
What the fuck?
We have project for each individual prop. Plus, for the best lines are at most importantly, you get access to Grant's action on what is Grant's action on? Like Discord, where I'm throwing in all my picks each and every day. Go to scoresandodds.com/Discord.
Oh, what the fuck that is? So hey, when the commercial pops up, you didn't ask for it. Anyway. So if you're an Eagles fan, you might take the under. If you're a Niners fan, you take the 8.5. I played the under, and I played the Bengals. Especially, I love them as a dog. I already bet them as a dog, so I think that'll probably stay. It'll probably stay at 1. Mahomes, I don't know if people think he's going to play the whole game effectively or not. I know in the Super Bowl, he had his foot was hurt, and he played terrible against Tampa. Got sacked a bunch, and he was really bad. So I don't know what they're thinking if he's going to come out 100% of their minds. But anyway, so that's it. Anything from anybody? Any other questions, comments? So lesson learned today: monopoly versus competition. Very important. Understanding this is trying to be a monopoly, but it's competing with gold, which it can't do. So at the end of the day, gold wins because it's gold. The YT commercials are so ridiculous sometimes. I'll unsub a channel if they run too many. I hate the YouTube commercials. That wasn't YouTube. That was Scores and Odds, but I don't understand. YouTube is trying to get you to buy, I think it's $11 or $12 a month to get it without commercials, sort of like Netflix. You can get commercials in Netflix for like $8 or $9, but if you pay a few dollars more, you don't get the commercials. That's what I did for Netflix. But then when I found out these movie channels, the only reason I'm holding on to Netflix is Money Heist right now. But because I mean, Netflix is so stupid. They throw out 10 movies. Okay, you watch them. Maybe you watch 5 of them that you like. Now what do? Okay, I just watched it, right? I just watched The Dirty Dozen. What the fuck am I doing now? How many times do you want me to watch it? And then they switch at the end of the month. I thought it should have been like Blockbuster, where you can go to another movie and say, oh, I want this movie. Okay, I want to watch My Cousin Vinny. Fine. Okay, I watched it. Let's go to The Dirty Dozen. Fine, I watched it. And just choose movies. Why are you giving me, how many times do you want me to watch The Dirty Dozen or any of these movies? How long? What do you want me to watch it 15 times? The Stings on this month. Okay, I saw it. Okay. And then if you want to watch it, you can't watch it. You got to wait for it's on. And then, okay, let's watch it 5 times. I don't know. So Netflix, I don't really like. I don't really like any of their little shows. They get a little too woke on me, or they just go in weird directions that I really don't interest me. I was watching, there's something on YouTube, and it's with the guy who did Kill Bill, whatever his name is. So he's saying this is the worst movies he's ever seen. And like these last few years, the movies are so bad. Tarantino. saying these movies suck. These are the worst movies ever. I was watching like Lord of the Rings, the best movie, and then they get into the Hobbit saying it was the worst movie because it was all green screen. It was all nothing was real. And how you make a one book that should have been a 90-minute movie into a 3-movie set, introducing things that aren't even in the book. Like, what the fuck were they doing? It was terrible. I was disappointed. I thought The Hobbit would be good. But when I heard 3 movies, what the fuck one movie is all. This ain't Lord of the Rings, which was like 1,000-page book. This was like a 120-page book that was, you could wrap it up in 90 minutes and off you went. So they're just saying then this green screen is just ridiculous. All this digital stuff. You're acting and you're just, you're just doing that. But anyway. So anything else? Women, poker, anything you want to talk? Let me know. We shall see. I'm off to the club shortly. Well, I'll eat a little and then go hot tub, see who I can harass in the hot tub. See if I can convince people. See, now I'm going to try this gold angle about competition with the dollar and see if anybody has a clue what competition is or what a monopoly is. And I doubt it. We will see. I think Phil understands the difference. You were a little hung up on the monopoly issue, but I think you got it. It's not good. No matter what it is, you want competition. That's the main thing. And that's what I always bitch at girls about is they have a boyfriend and I'm going, well, let me compete with him. I'll be better than him if you allow me to compete. And they'll say, I have a boyfriend. And you're like, I don't care because if I would compete with your boyfriend, I'm going to beat him out. And they won't. And then they get divorced and they wonder, well, geez, I chose the wrong guy. That's because you didn't understand what competition is. So that's the real problem is understanding what competition is or isn't. And you want to compete. You want to look at different restaurants or different guys or different this or that. I was hung up on the monopoly issue, and I'm still not satisfied with the lack of competition. Want many more smaller firms, less giant firms. There's nothing wrong with giant firms as long as there's competition to them. Because that's how, Microsoft was a small company, and then it grew. Intel. So there's nothing wrong with them growing. Look at Ford and GM. They can't compete with Toyota and Mercedes. So there's big companies. You see it all the time in football where these teams can't compete with these other, like the Lions haven't been competitive in 100 years since 1950 something because they don't know what the hell they're doing. So it's not necessarily big and small because there's different niches in the market, right? I don't need a polo shirt, even though they might be a big company. I can get a Nautica shirt, which just is nice. It's $20 instead of $100. And I don't know if Nautica is as big as Polo, so I don't care. But there's different brands and different niches of the market. I do teasers. I really don't get involved with straight bets, and there's handicappers who do straight. So my niche is teasers. I can help you with straight bets, but all my knowledge and statistics and the way I bet is in teasers. So I found my niche. Now, am I small or growing, whatever, but it's okay if you you want a good product that's competitive, good price that's made well. You don't care how big or small the company is. Microsoft was founded with intelligence community, as was Amazon. Lots of these companies get big due to being fast-tracked with help from government. Did the government help Microsoft and Amazon? I don't know if they did in the beginning or they did after. But you give Microsoft credit that it's like Apple. Let's talk about Apple. Give them credit that they made a phone, right? A cell phone. Because before, I know when I grew up, it was a landline. So you had the landline. You didn't have a phone with you. And, maybe you had two in the house. So the phone would ring and you wouldn't know who it was and you'd answer it. You'd be excited. Somebody's calling me. Or you called your friends. Let's go play poker or whatever. And then Apple comes out, or I don't know if it was Apple, but then they come out with cell phones. I know I would go to Verizon and I'd get a free cell phone. It would last a year or two. And then I'd get a new free cell phone and you were paying for the plan. And at first we barely used it. And we never gave it to the kids till they were like 13, 14. And then it was like for emergencies, right? If you're stuck or if you get sick at school, then call us. It was never to call and the internet and the take the pictures. I mean, it was basically call and text. And that's what it started. But it was the idea that the individual would have a phone. And that's why it took off, was then you weren't tied to your landline and everything was, now the phone is right here with me and I can take it in the car and I still get signal and I just charge it up and off I go. And I can text my girlfriends in Europe and in the Ukraine and I can send money. I can go on the internet, check my emails. I can get phone calls. I can take pictures. So I can do all this stuff with my phone, but I can have my own individual phone. So let's give Apple credit for that. That was a good thing. Microsoft's doing the same thing with computers. Now I got a laptop, I can take it with. I remember when I first got a desktop. It was sat on my desk with the big thing in the side. You'd push the button to turn it on and you'd get on the computer and the internet. You didn't know what it was, but then they made a laptop and now it's basically on your phone pretty much. I mean, you want to get into Excel, you're on here, but most of the internet stuff I can get on my phone or on my laptop. It doesn't really matter. But the phone gets a little small. If you want to watch a game or Netflix, like if I go to bed, I want to watch Netflix, I take my laptop versus this. One quick thing. I wasn't getting Fox because my antenna wasn't picking it up and I was missing some football. So I took my TV into my bedroom away from the brick wall and I reformulated the channels you can search. And now I got Fox. Well, I thought, okay, so for the football, I have to take it back in the bedroom. And I still have Fox on my TV. So it's really weird how I got it and I didn't lose it, even though it's back to where I wasn't picking it up in the first place. So Sunday, I don't have to go back into my bedroom to watch the Fox game. I can watch it out here, which I prefer. So that was very strange that I could pick it up. I thought I could pick it up in my bedroom. Then I'm still getting it out here, which I thought I would lose it out here and I'd have to keep moving it back to the bedroom to get it, just to watch a football game and then bring it back. But so, I mean, a lot of things were made, like the car. We pretty much all have a car, where in Europe they all use streetcars or trams, a lot of trams or bicycles. They don't have as many cars, and a lot of the streets are too small anyway, or they have trains. That's the only thing I like more about Europe, is I'm not in my car. Here, to go to the club, I got to get in my car. To go to Myers and Target, I got to get into my car. So you're always in your car to go anywhere, versus in Europe, it's all like when I was in Amsterdam, I would get on a tram and then go down to the downtown where all the little the girls are, the Diamond Exchange, the Lowenbrow, whatever, or the Heineken, I think. Whatever you wanted to see, you would just train or tram down there and then just walk around and then get back on it. So I thought that was interesting. I think that's what I like about Europe more than here. Bobby, I'm still in class, professor, just here staring at my new coin. So what, you got 10 more kangaroos and maple leaves? And you got a plastic for them? So when are you going to buy gold, Bobby? I mean, I'll have to take out that Philharmonic, I think, right after this. I'll take it out for tomorrow. Phil, he was chosen as a figurehead like Bezos. The list is very long. So you're telling me that Apple or Bill Gates is just a figurehead. Yeah, he looks a bit weird. And he left his wife for this Chinese agent, and he doesn't know it. So he doesn't realize he's being played by the Chinese mafia. I love it. Phil, they really want information, study human psychological habits. What did Amazon do that was so great? Sell used books, right? Like no one had thought of that. They were chosen to succeed for a reason. Well, he started getting into other things. I agree with you, but I never use it. I don't like it. To me, I'll go to Target and buy shampoo or a can of chili. I think I used Amazon once to buy my cologne because I left it in my mover in Alabama. So there's some stuff I haven't moved up, and so to get my cologne, I looked and I thought I could get it at like Walmart's. They didn't have it, so I ended up on Amazon, and it was pretty cheap. But normally I don't use Amazon at all. I think it's crazy, but yeah, I mean they're gathering. That's what Facebook was gathering information. And it's funny, my Russian friend said, "Get off all the social networks. They're all just trying to sell your information." I'll leave it to the Russians to think like that, but he was right. And so the only one I'm really on now is Twitter, only as Teaser King, not Howard. And then I put some pics out or something as a method to advertise. And I do get a few people on that, but basically it's YouTube and do this. And that's about it. But yeah, it's crazy because they just sell all your data. You don't even agree to it, or they'll get you on a technicality. Well, you did hit the agreement thing, and I'm sure you didn't read that we sell your data. Yeah. So I mean, who does that? Who would there like Zuckerberg and say, I'm going to build this. I'm going to steal the MySpace theme, and I'm going to call it Facebook, which is exactly the same thing. And I'm going to take everybody's data and sell it. Who thinks of this shit? What the hell is wrong with this country? If I did a Facebook, the last thing I would think of would be selling people's information to the government and these others. Oh, is that how did you become rich? Well, yeah, I had gold. Well, how did you become rich? Well, I stole everybody's information and sold it for profit and fucked everybody over. That sounds like a really good business model. So it's really scary. Like I said, this whole Russia thing, I don't know. And it's scary what's going on. My Ukrainian girlfriend keeps saying we only get light for a few hours. Then she's got internet. Then I get a text from her. I'm starting to get worried because I'll go a few days without getting a text. I don't know if she got killed or what. So I'm hoping she's okay. And then I can relax when she texts me. But same thing with my Russian. I'm saying, hey, they're bombing Moscow and they're starting to bomb St. Petersburg. And she lives in St. Petersburg. I'm like, they're starting to bomb that area. They're sending missiles there. Would you please be careful? So when I don't hear from her for 3 days, I get a little worried. How do you guys handle? She gets on, and I can see the time, but she doesn't like text me. So I can see she's been on, but she doesn't like say, "Hey, Howard, how are you doing?" She just, she's on at 1:00. I can because the name, and then I'll say 1:00, but then I don't get anything. So I don't know how to play that. We're fine together, but I just it's like you can never like. And I know she's working. She says they won't let me text you when I'm working. Only my daughter, because of I'm not allowed to use the phone at work. And I can imagine the Russian business. Nikolai's going to send her to Siberia if she texts me she goes on WhatsApp on her phone. So, I hope to get in the morning or when she gets home, but it's been like 3 days. So I'm not that worried, but after a week, I get a little worried, but she usually hits me up after a few days. She works like 3-4 days and then she gets a few days off. Anyway, I guess that's about it. I don't know what I'm doing for dinner. Bobby, I need something for dinner. What do you got for me? See, Chinese Saturday. I got the ribs. I think Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon. I got the ribs, and I finished them yesterday. It's a ribs chicken combo, so I eat the ribs there, and then I eat the chicken the next day. Probably eggs, I guess, scrambled eggs, and I got a little tiny bit of chicken left. So anyway, that'll probably be dinner. It's 3:43. Off to swim today. So we got buried with snow yesterday, so I have to see what the road should be fine. I mean, I drove yesterday, so that worked out. Maybe Bobby can spare a volcano sushi roll. Sounds like it was really spicy. Do they have any Jamaican spots around there? Jamaican? You mean restaurants? I have never heard of a Jamaican restaurant in Detroit. We have Indian, we have Chinese, Japanese, Thai, barbecue, Italian, like the Italian stallion, Coney Island type of restaurants. It's funny, after watching Gordon Ramsay, it's like I get very scared in a Coney Island now. Because if you watch Kitchen Nightmares, Gordon Ramsay like goes in and he he eats, then he goes into the back room. If not Jamaican, grab some Indian. I don't like Indian. It's not my cup of tea. I'd rather have sushi. But so Gordon Ramsay goes in the back room and they're nuking. I'll just eat General Chow chicken. I'm happy with the Chinese. So he'll go into the back room in the kitchen, right? And he sees they're not cooking the food, they're nuking it. And he chews about like, look, you guys are charging a lot and you're just fucking nuking hamburgers and chicken and and you're calling it fresh, but you're just nuking it. And so I go into a Coney Island now and I'll get like something. I don't know. I got a chili and it just was like really hot. And I'm like, is this fresh or did you nuke it? And they go, we nuked it. And I said, I don't want it. So if one thing Gordon Ramsay's teaching me is don't eat the nuke food. So I tend, unless I get a can of chili at home and Hormel, and then I nuke it. But if I'm at a restaurant, I am not paying for nuke food. So now I'm even curious if the hamburgers are cooked or like what the fuck's going on, or the fries. So I've been going to Coney's less, but that's why I cook so much. Like I'll make my omelets. I know what I'm putting in my omelet. It's broccoli, it's peppers, and it's some onions, and I know how I'm making the spices, and I know it's good food, and it's a lot cheaper than trying to get an omelet at Coney Island. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just want to eat out, but I just get tired of eating in the house. But whatever. Anyway, so once everything kicks in with Social Security, I will go on a vacation with Jenna, my Ukrainian girl, for a couple of weeks. And once the deposit, I said here at the early part of February, once that's going, so I'm always like that. I'll wait till it's approved. I'll wait till I start getting the money. Then we'll go on a vacation. Of course, then I'll probably get a job offer, which I'll have to think about. Do I turn it down or do I take it? Because as long as you're getting your normal bills paid, that's all you're really working for anyway. And then I got the gold and silver and the baseball cards. I think I might start getting my cards graded and start selling those. And then I'll really have a lot of money, because I think that mantle is going to get me a couple $100,000. So I'm interested. I'm hoping to get it as a 968 mantle. I showed you. I doubt it's a 10. It could be, but I doubt they'll give me a 10 on it. So if I can get a 9 on it, that's a good value. And then that Brady refractor. So I think I might start doing that while I do this too. You'd better start getting graded soon. They have a multi-month backlog. Well, I don't need to get it graded tomorrow, but yes, I agree with you. I do have about 25 cards graded. I got a Bobby Orr 70. I think it's a mint 9. Some Orr cards I got graded, but I didn't get any 10s, unfortunately. So I can start selling, but yeah, I'm sure that they should hire more people. They've got the monopoly. Hey, Thomas. Oh, you're welcome. Ask away. I try to be broad, but I won't lie. If I don't know anything, I tell you I don't know anything. So when I do comment, I know it, or to my best ability, I'll answer. Not like these idiots on YouTube who talk in Chinese and you're like, what the fuck did this guy say? Or they're all trying to sell you something. All right. So, don't know what else. Got 3 hours flies. Does Mahomes' injury make you hesitant to take either side this weekend? Normally, I would take the Chiefs, but I'm not sure the ankle will hold up. We know Burrow is amazing too. I've already okay. Let me go through football one more time for you, Thomas. So we got Philly 2.5, 46.5. I like the under in that game because of the two strong defenses. I'm not worried about Purdy choking. I don't think he will, and I'm not. Hurts, I think, will try to run, and Frisco's not going to let him. He'll throw the interception against these cornerbacks for the Niners. But I like the game under. Cincinnati, I like. They've beaten KC 3 times in a row. Even if Mahomes is 100% healthy, I'm taking the dog, which is Cincinnati. I've already bet it. They were getting 1.5. Then when they flipped to them being favored, I didn't bet anymore. Now they're back to 1 or 1.5. So I like Cincinnati as the dog here. Without the Mahomes injury, I'd like them. But with the Mahomes injury, I certainly like Cincinnati all day. Much better defense. And you really got to look for the defense. You bet defense. You don't bet the quarterback. What do you do when football ends? I cry a lot. I heard you say you do playoff basketball before any baseball in the summertime. Yeah, I do playoff basketball, and I do baseball until football season starts. Did a lot of shows on baseball. Again, basically, there we're looking at the pitchers, and NBA basketball playoffs. We're really looking at teams with their back against the wall. So I had my biggest lock last year was a 50-unit lock. I took Golden State in game 2 of the finals. They had the big lead in game 1 and blew it. And I think, what were they playing? Toronto. So Toronto goes up 1-0. And if you thought about it, if Golden State loses game 2, then goes to Toronto for 2 games, they theoretically could get swamped. Yeah, I do a lot of draft videos. You can see that. You can see, I probably the last 5-6 years, you can, if you type in draft videos on my thing, I do that, and you'll see how accurate I am, especially with quarterbacks. I basically, tell you, like, Darnold sucks and Tagliabue sucks and Lawrence sucks. I basically spell it out right there, and I'm basing it on what they did in college. So anyway, my 50-unit lock was Golden State. So they're down 1-0, but they really dominated Toronto. They just lost at the end. And I say that if they lose game 2, they're down 2-0, and they go to Toronto for 2, they might get swept. They have to win, so they tie the series up. And they were laying 4 or 5 points. And I made it a 50-unit lock. It was a huge bet, and they won by like 30. Then I bet Toronto back because now they're going to go down 2-1, and then Toronto won, and then I went back to Golden State in game 4 because they couldn't go down 3-1. So that's how I bet the NBA playoffs. the teams get the back against the wall, but the team's got to be even. If one team's really good and the other team's really bad, it's a sweep. You don't fuck with it. But when you get two even teams or the better teams down, that's what you're looking for. Phil, regarding baseball and pitchers, they keep pulling these pitchers after 5 innings and limit pitch count, which is totally ridiculous, and I'm sure Bobby agrees. I find betting the pitcher to have less value than it used to in many years past. Absolutely. Agree 1,000%. Well, I remember Jack Morris of the Tigers. He didn't have a pitch count. Then he went to Minnesota. Remember that game? It was a 10-inning game. It was in the World Series, and Jack Morris pitched all 10 innings. I think he had like 250 pitches, and he shut out whoever they played. And I remember there was a Nolan Ryan game. And it was against you, Bobby. And Nolan Ryan was facing, I don't remember who, some other stud. And it went like a 10 or 11 innings, and Nolan Ryan pitched the whole game. And he threw like 300 pitches, and he won like 2-0 or whatever. I pitched when I was in like Little League, and I played Pony Colt. And I think they were just introducing the pitch count, and I thought it was the stupidest thing. I remember I was in Little League, and I'm pitching, and I could only pitch so many innings a week, and it was a Saturday game, and I could only go 3 innings. And I'm like, my arm's fine. Like, it was so stupid. I'm striking everybody out, and I gotta sit down because of what? Because of a pitch count or an inning count or something. It was like unbelievable. Just the stupidest. I don't know where they're coming up that they think this is valuable to limit a pitcher. Again, it's control. They're not letting the competition out. If the guy feels like he can go more, let him go more. If he's tired, then take him out. That should be the pitcher's option, not somebody telling the pitcher how many pitches he can throw. Robin Roberts pitched 6 consecutive 300-inning plus seasons in the 50s. Ridiculous what they do now. Well, that's 300 innings, but right, how many pitches? I'm sure he pitched 300 pitches in a game pretty regularly. It was not a big deal. Bobby, yes, I especially hate when they pull a pitcher who's throwing a fucking perfect game. They suddenly pull him after the 7th inning while he's perfect. I have zero respect for that move. Well, to carry on your point, why even take him out if he's got a 1 or 2 hitter? If the game's close, why are you pulling the guy? Why are you caring about pitch count? And what even burns me more is in the playoffs. If you're pitch counting, isn't it to get the guy into the playoffs? And then once you're in the playoffs, why are you pitch counting? That's when the guy should go 9 innings. You shouldn't care about the pitch. As long as he can go, keep him out there. And then he gets tired, fine. But why would you pitch count him in the playoffs or the World Series? It's just fucking stupid. And then they blow the game when the bullpen gets in. Bobby, it's infuriating. Well, that's what I did that, and I know Bobby did that. If he had to face Verlander, he's probably shitting in his pants going, yeah, I know I'm Bobby Bonilla, but I can't hit him. And then his relief when they go to the bullpen and they get Verlander out of there, I mean, it's incredible because from a psychological point, you're going, fuck, I can hit anybody else but Verlander. And if they would have left Verlander in the game, he'd have shut him out. But because they get Verlander, okay, you pitched your 7, here's our bullpen, and then they lose the game. And it's freaking ridiculous. I agree. I don't understand it. I don't get the pitch count. I don't understand it. I don't get they can't go on 5 days rest. What do you mean he can't go on? He's got to wait a minute. There should be 3-day rest. Denny McLain and then Morris and I remember the '84 Tigers. They had 3 pitchers, right? Petrie, Morris, and the other bum, and that was it. I mean, you'd have 3 days rest. Now it's 5 days rest. Well, why don't you pitch once a week, and all you got to do is pitch 20. After 20 pitches, we'll let you out. Then I came up with, I want my ace in there in the 9th inning, not my bullpen, was to actually start the bullpen. Let the guy pitch the 1st inning and the 2nd inning, and then bring in your pitcher to go 3 through 9 because I want him in at the end. And then Tampa started doing that. It was hysterical. I'm like, I was really just thinking out loud, and they actually did that. They start the bullpen and go to the ace. But I want Verlander in the ninth inning. I don't want him only in the seventh, because that's when I blow the game, is the ninth inning, right? It's hard to get to that final out, so it's just so stupid. Anyway, and you're starting to see it in basketball now, where they got to rest the guy because it's back-to-back or 3 games in 4 nights. It's fucking basketball. Jesus Christ. And then football, they're sitting out more. We got to rest. Now they don't even have a preseason. Well, we don't want anybody to get hurt. What is that mentality? Where the fuck did that come from? We don't want anybody to get hurt. It's football. Everybody gets hurt. Don't play it. Have the guys play tennis and golf if they don't want to get hurt. But I'll tell you, you get hurt in golf, there's a lot of injuries. So I don't really understand football where they're afraid. Let's not play the guy so he doesn't get injured. Meanwhile, they get more hamstring injuries because these guys are not in shape, because running is not the same as playing in the game and game speed. And that's really the problem. That's why we're fucked the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season trying to pick these games, because you got so many changes, so many coaching changes, and so many quarterback changes. You don't even know the team, and then they don't give you preseason. So the first few weeks we're fucked. Week 1, did I have Frisco? Well, you didn't even have Purdy. Did I have Philly week 1? I doubt it. Was Philly the same team week 1 as they are now? I doubt it. This is the problem. I mean, I think the Rams, I wasn't even betting the Rams. I think Buffalo played the Rams week 1, and you bet Buffalo, and they were the favorite, and the Rams sucked then and sucked the whole year, and they won the Super Bowl last year, so good luck figuring it out. So once I get about 4 weeks in, I can start, okay, well, with Cincinnati, I got Burrow and I got Chase. As long as they're healthy, I go to them, and, you go. But like Seattle, you don't have a clue. And it's all because we don't want to get the guys hurt. Then I'm reading the injury list here, and it's like there's 20 players with pulled hamstrings on Cleveland or Baltimore. Baltimore's famous for the biggest injury list. But Harbaugh's got to go. He's a terrible coach. I'm assuming they're not going to sign Lamar Jackson. If I was Baltimore, I seriously would go after Brady. It's a perfect fit with that defense. Sign up Brady, bring over, Evans and Godwin. You got a running backs, and you got the defense. And I'd be a perfect fit for him in Baltimore. You ain't winning with Lamar. That's pretty obvious. And you're not winning with Huntley. So get Brady, and then at least you can win next year, and then let him retire. That's where he needs to go. Or at worst case, Seattle, which has a very good offense, but they need defensive help. So anyway, Brady's certainly fine to go another year. All right. So again, last look. Philly 2.5, 46.5. Take the under in the game. If you like to play, take the dog, take Frisco. Games like this are close, and you tease the dog, especially with good defenses and a good offense. They can run the ball and pass. They got balance. They got Samuel. They got McCaffrey, and they got Kittle. So they are not getting blown out by anybody. And Cincinnati, KC, again, KC's injury. If Mahomes is healthy, I like Cincinnati. Burrow is just as good a quarterback, Bobby, as Mahomes. But they got the better defense. They can run. They got Chase. Cincinnati's got more weapons. And they beat KC the last 3 times. So I like KC. I like Cincy as the dog more than I like the over-under, because I just think since he's going to win, they're getting 7 points. So that's your pros. What is today? Thursday? I lose track of days when I do this. Yeah, it's Thursday. So anyway, that's the show for today. That's all, folks. And www.teaserking.com. Again, if you want to email me, go there. You'll get my email and whatever you want to do. Bobby, happy you got your silver. You got to graduate to gold, Bobby. You want that Ferrari. You want that big house, bigger than what you got now. The gold will buy it for you. And again, the critical differentiation between this and Bitcoin and gold, this will go to zero. Bitcoin is related to the dollar. In fact, it's priced at the dollar. You can't price Bitcoin without the dollar, but Mr. Gold doesn't need the dollar to have value. And if this is losing value, I don't want to be in Bitcoin, and I certainly don't mind being in gold because the value will double. If this goes to zero and you hold gold and gold's 50,000 for this, gold doubles because now there is no dollar, so you can't price it in dollars. You price it in whatever it buys, so you go that way. So believe me, you are not going wrong with gold and silver. It can do nothing but go up. And once they get rid of the currency, once they get rid of the paper bullshit derivatives and move on to physical, then you'll really see it go. So that's it for today, folks. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Phil. Yeah, it's a hot tub. I look at some girls. I do my bike and I do some running in the pool. It's really like it gets me out. I talk to some people, and I like the hot tub. In an apartment, the tub never fills right. So I'll probably get a jacuzzi when I get the big house next to Bobby's. All right. Well, have a good day, everybody. Good luck, and we'll see what happens. We'll keep our eyes. As far as I'm concerned, Mahomes will play the first half. He'll be in trouble after halftime, but I don't even care. We're betting on Joe Burrow, except for Bobby. He's going to go over in the game because he can't bet against Mahomes. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. You're welcome, Bobby.